had the Taco Bell poisoning this week.
They did?
Yeah, I spun the wheel of Taco Bell, and I just did it one too many times, and it came up on just go fuck yourself. So
yeah, that's the thing about Taco Bell. It's like a Wheel of Fortune wheel, except for bankruptcy because it's fairly cheap. It's diarrhea,
right?
That's it. Those are the only other options outside of like, hey, that went fine.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so I may be a little off my game because it was that thing. It was that thing where you wake up halfway through your night sleep and you just have to go sit on the toilet for like 30 minutes.
Oh yeah,
all the pain of the world coming through you. So what I'm saying is, just think to yourself, I'm so glad that I don't have the Taco Bell poisoning. And also, welcome back to the RageSelect podcast. You're on RageSelect. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mike, and I don't have diarrhea poisoning.
That's great. I'm happy. I'm super happy for you. I'm super happy for you.
I have heartburn issues again.
You know what? I think... I'm not. I keep denying it, Michael. I keep denying it, and I think I might just need to make my peace with the fact that it's like, Jeff, you're 46 years old. If you go eat a bunch of Taco Bell, you just need to take the Pepto right when you're done. Like, don't wait for the symptoms to start.
No,
just preempt that shit,
buy
right?
Buy those chewable Tums.
Yep.
Keep them in your car.
Yep.
Or wherever. This is what I do, to be honest.
I buy a 6-pack of Gatorade when I know I'm going to drink. Why don't I just take a Pepto after I get done shoving a bunch of like industrial grade meat like product directly into my mouth?
Yeah, exactly. Like you just, since they're chewable now, you just put one in your mouth and then you're done.
Just go for it.
Just go for it.
So yeah. All right. Now I'm gonna stop talking about that for everybody who's turned it off. That was a test for you guys. The real fans are still here because they've heard me talk about Taco Bell guts before. All the new people who are like, "What's this podcast about?" Oh no, I don't want to listen to this.
It's fair.
So
completely fair.
It is a strange news week.
Yes,
it's a very weird. It's a very weird news week. There's a lot of crazy fucking stories going on. But before we get to that, I wish like I always watch like a movie or a television show or something. And this week, I'm not going to do it. I've just been really busy with all this like stupid shit that I've got to get done for the end of the week. It's really boring. But so on Sunday, I was like, oh man, I'm just fucking like rolling around Netflix, like looking for something. And I hit play on this movie, and I was like, I was really confused. So I watched, I don't know why I'm on this Korean kick. I watched this Korean Netflix
it's that
movie.
Or 1920s Marlon Brando movies or whatever.
Apparently that's where I'm at. It's just bouncing between the two. So I watched this.
Yes, I know Marlon Brando's not that old, but still.
I watched this Korean movie called Officer Black Belt. And
sorry, what?
Yeah, it's called Officer Black Belt, and it's like a It was like it had a decent review score, and it's the weirdest fucking movie. It's like there's the main character, and he's just like this like teenager, and he's good at everything. He's good at like judo, he's good at karate, he's good at like the stick one, aikido or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what
he plays online video games with his buddies, and he wins every time. He's just the best. He's Zach Morris. Okay. He's Korean Zach Morris.
Oh, he straight up looks like him too.
And then one day he's driving home from delivering fried chicken for his dad's restaurant, and he sees this cop getting beat up, or this like cop-like guy getting beat up. And he intervenes, and then he gets like an invitation. I don't want to spoil with this trailer. He gets like an invitation to join this group of cop-like people whose job is like, okay, if you're a violent offender, when you get out of jail, they put the ankle monitor on you. And then I don't know if this is for real in Korea or if this is just the movie. And so in the movie, there's like this whole separate organization with these pairs of people that monitor the ankle bracelet people. And like one of them is like a parole officer, like an official parole officer.
Yeah.
And the other one is called a martial arts officer. And basically his job is like dog the bounty hunter. If there's a problem with the guy, he's the one that's going to whoop his ass and take him back in. And they're like, well, that guy that you rescued, he's in the hospital and he's out. Do you want to be my new partner, like 17-year-old Zach Morris, Korean Zach Morris? And Korean Zach Morris's thing is he's like an adrenaline junkie, and so he's like, "Fuck yeah, I do. I want to beat up scum." And then he just kind of does for the rest of the movie, except there's this big Jaws looking motherfucker that gets out of prison who's like even like more threatening. And he doesn't learn any lessons. He just ends up beating guys up.
He just gets better at beating people up.
He just beats people up, then he beats more people up, then he beats more people up. Then the movie's over. And like apparently every one of the criminals that have these ankle bracelets are like psychotic, vicious sex predators that at a moment's notice are looking to just go to town on the nearest lady person that they can see in the world. And if you, as the parole officer, like the first case they have, they call the guy up and they're like, hey man, your ankle monitor's battery is under 30%. You need to go charge it. And he's like, you go fuck yourself. And in the background, there's a woman like, help me, I'm being killed. And then hangs up the phone. And so they go kick his ass. And like he's in the middle of assaulting a lady when this happens. And the thing is that it's not like, it's not like irreversible or anything. It's not like super graphic.
Yeah.
But every one of these guys is some kind of vicious psychopathic sex predator. And
oh, the way you described it just reminded me of my favorite. That we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
But my favorite scene of the RoboCop remake, where the guys there's just sex, just people trying to rape the two women over and over again.
Yeah.
So RoboCop just has to keep shooting every single one of them in the dick.
Oh, yeah. When you said remake, I thought you meant the Joel Kinnaman one or whatever.
The joke one.
Yeah.
The our RoboCop remake one.
Yes.
Not the actual RoboCop, official RoboCop remake.
It was a really weird movie, and it was like, because it was such a lighthearted,
like premise in the beginning.
Like
is what you're saying.
This kid, he invites his parole officer, who's like this older guy, to like hang out with his friend group, and they're all really respectful of him, and they're all just like, "You're our new big bro. Here's my friends. We call this guy, what was it? We call this guy Earthworm because he doesn't get mad." I don't know what that is.
Because he's down to earth, I guess.
I don't know. But then in between, like the one guy, they catch him and he's like just standing across the street from like a children's elementary school, obviously jerking it.
Oh my god.
And then it goes into a wacky chase scene. And the problem is that, like, I don't know if it's a Korean movie, a Korean cinema thing where it's like the swings, like in an American movie, the crimes of these men would not be as horribly deplorable as they are, because it kind of like it zigzags the
level of insanity,
right? You get this like cocky young man, and then just these really violent, like attempted sexual assaults. And I don't know. It was very weird. I meant to watch something else. I ran out of time. I wasn't sure what I wanted to say about this movie.
I'm just surprised.
It's very weird.
You must have just been on Netflix and it popped up or some shit and you looked it up.
Yeah. Well, it was like one of those like 85 critic, 85 like audience scores. And that's usually a little better than this.
Well, the trailer says it was pretty recent. It was 6 days ago it came out.
Yeah. Like it was on the front page of Netflix.
Yeah.
And, it's also like I expected like a kung fu movie, and like the beaten up scenes were just a lot more like. There might be like 80s martial arts movies from America, where there's just a lot of kind of whooping ass and less like, oh my god, I can't believe Jet Li just fucking did 4 flips and then hit that guy with his fingernail. Like,
yeah, that was a fun time back in the day.
So I don't know. It was really weird. I don't know if I can recommend it. I don't know if I can recommend it at all.
I don't know either.
Like, it's a very strange movie, and I just don't know what to think about it. I think it might be done with Korean movies and TV shows for a little while.
You should stop for a little bit. The thing about it, you look too long into Korean cinema, it blinks and looks right back at you.
So part of it, I wonder if this main guy is like a K-pop guy or like some kind of hunky movie star, and this is just like if this is
that's a good point,
some kind of vehicle for him, right?
Is he one of them BTSs or whatever the fuck they're called?
Right. Is this like a vehicle for a hunky? Is this like Kiss Phantom of the Park, where it's just like this guy is famous for some other reason, and so we're gonna make a movie where he gets to be the best and beat up everyone? The end.
Yeah, I can see that being a thing.
So anyway,
I'm now looking him up because I'm now too curious.
Well, why don't I look him up and then you tell me?
He is a runway model.
Well, there you go. That makes sense. All right, it's all starting to come together now. Well, that would explain why it had a high like user score, right? Is you get like K-pop stans or whatever, like people who are fans of Korean stuff, right, that recognize the guy that are like, I give it 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, woo, type of thing.
He'd been acting for a while though, but he started off as a model.
Yeah,
but good for that guy.
Yeah, it was just I don't know whether to recommend it or not. Maybe start watching it, but like don't be surprised when it takes some real weird dark left turns.
That's true,
and then just doesn't really keep up with them. I don't know. It's very strange. It's very strange.
Super recent too. I just think it's interesting that like Netflix has just somehow become a bastion of South Korean films and television shows.
Yeah,
and sometimes they get. I think part of it's because of how well. What the fuck is the name of that show did?
Oh, Squid Games?
Squid Games. I think it's because Squid Games did so well that they're pushing them more than they used to.
Mm-hmm.
But, good for them.
I think in general, I think I talked with Bryce about this, that in general, like just Korean music and shows and stuff. I mean, I see a lot more animes that are adapted from Korean, like light novels and manga and stuff. I think that just like Korean culture has become more, like it started with K-pop and then kind of like with Japan, right? It kind of started with like the music stuff and then people got really engrossed in like the food, the models, and the shows and stuff.
All our friends were already into Korean stuff. That's because every Korean movie that used to come to America was the most fucked up thing you've ever seen in your life.
True.
But they were amazing every single time.
Yep.
And you're like, this Old Boy sounds really interesting. And then you watch it and you're like, that was fucked up as shit. This guy make anything else?
You start watching Old Boy, it's just like every 15 minutes you're like, what?
Yeah.
Wait. What?
The movie's full of that. And then I remember when I Saw the Devil came out and everyone's like, you gotta watch I Saw the Devil.
Oh yeah.
And you do, and it's the same thing. You're like, what? What?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Anyway, what about you? Did you do anything? You watch anything? Did you end up watching the Beetlejuice?
I did.
Oh, what'd you think about that?
I really liked it a lot. The story is has issues.
Okay.
But I just had fun the whole time.
Yeah.
Because Michael Keaton has not fucking lost the beat.
Yeah.
Because he's the fucking best. I love Michael Keaton.
Okay.
He's one of my favorite actors for even when I was younger. And so, so he goes all in. Everybody else, for the most part, goes all in. But the plot itself, it has... This is going to sound weird. It has too many antagonists in the movie, but not enough for those antagonists to do.
Okay.
And then the movie just kind of ends.
Okay.
But I had fun the whole time because it's about, I guess just I'll give the quick synopsis without spoiling kind of thing, which is that it's been years since Lydia, dealt with Beetlejuice. She's now part of a reality show where she goes to people's houses to talk to their ghosts, to help them out. Her daughter hates her because her dad, her ex-husband disappeared years ago, and they're pretty sure he died. But she never sees his ghost.
Right.
So she's like, if you can see all the ghosts in the world, but you can't see fucking dad, then you're a goddamn fraud, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so she's like, she hates her mom, and then so eventually her dad dies in an insane way that they do this little fun sequence with using stop motion animation to do. Because for people who don't know, the guy who played the dad is a terrible person.
From the original.
Yeah. So they couldn't bring him back. So they went out of their way to do something where they can't use the actor, but they use his face a couple times here and there.
Yeah.
But they never he's clearly not in the movie.
Right.
And so once he dies, they have to go back to the old house to do the funeral. And then eventually Lydia starts seeing Beetlejuice randomly.
Yeah.
She'll just be she'll just be somewhere and then she'll look up and there's Beetlejuice walking by, just like, hey, what's up? She just freaks the fuck out and she blinks and he's not there, kind of thing. Yeah. And so she thinks she's going crazy.
Sure.
Turns out Beetlejuice is just fucking with her.
Yeah.
Because he's like, we have a psychic connection, me and her, because because we're soulmates or whatever.
Right.
And so he's just like, I know she saw me that time, and so he keeps trying to convince her to essentially take him back, quote unquote.
Yeah. And
then something happens involving her daughter because this is why I don't want to spoil this part. Involves her daughter getting taken to the afterlife by somebody, and so she needs help getting her back, and so she makes a deal with Beetlejuice, and then the rest of the movie, hijinks ensues from there.
Yeah.
And in the meanwhile, because this is the reason I mentioned there's too many antagonists. This is the first 5-10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah,
it's not a spoiler, which is that Beetlejuice's ex-wife is after Beetlejuice as well. So that's another part of the plot. so that's happening in the meanwhile. This is the reason I say that like there's not enough going on with some of them because it literally just feels like meanwhile this is happening while all the other stuff is happening, and you're like, I don't feel like this is connected correctly. But that's the issue I had with the plot. But like I said, I enjoyed it. It's fun. It's not like I'm not going to be like, this is the greatest thing ever. I loved it as much as the first one. No, that was never going to happen.
Right.
Not because I was hoping it wasn't happen, but that's because it's just the writing just isn't there. Because even like as much as I love the first Beetlejuice, even that one's third act kind of feels rushed at times.
A little bit.
Whereas this one, it still has that rush feeling, but at least there was only so many threads that had to be closed in that one. And then compared to this one.
Yeah.
But this one's not even written by Tim Burton. This one's written by, strangely enough, the people who created Smallville.
Okay.
Because they also created the Wednesday Netflix show.
Oh.
Which is the reason they worked with Jenna Ortega in the past.
Right.
And so they pitched the movie to Tim Burton and Michael Keaton, and they're like, okay, I think we got something here.
Yeah.
And so they then made the sequel for the movie. And no, I enjoyed it quite a bit. If you like, the thing is, if you just like Beetlejuice as a character and the world of Beetlejuice itself, you're gonna have a good time because it plays with everything that was set up in that movie, and so you just go from there. Really.
Well, it looks like the real sauce from the first Beetlejuice was probably this Warren Scarron guy. He was one of the two writers, and he also wrote on Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Beetlejuice, and Batman.
This guy, goddamn,
Batman, so.
that's one of the only a few things he did, and they're all fucking bangers.
Oh wow! And his archive is at the Harry Ransom Center right here in Austin,
really
Texas.
Fun. We should go.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, I kept hearing like good stuff about it, and it's nice. It sounds like it's one of those like it's not as good as the first one, but as far as like we're trading on an 80s property for cynical reasons, we at least came out with something that's somewhat enjoyable.
Yeah. I was surprised because Red Letter Media watched it too.
Yeah.
And I got curious as to what their thoughts were. And they're very similar to what I thought. They're like, it's a good movie, but it's not like a great movie.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that at the end of the day, especially with these kinds of 80s sequels.
So kind of like the Ghostbusters 2 of the Beetlejuice universe.
100%. That's actually the best way of putting it. But here's the thing. I love Ghostbusters 2.
Sure.
Because, Vigo is the fucking best.
Yeah.
You're like the buzzing of flies to him.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with Ghostbusters 2, but if I sit down to watch Ghostbusters, I'll probably watch the first one.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'll probably watch the Beetlejuice, and then if I ever get the hankering again for the rest of my life to watch Beetlejuice, I'll probably watch the first one.
Yeah.
So
and again, there's nothing wrong with it. The only other issue I had with the movie, because I'll just throw this out there before anybody asks, is that they sentence explain away why the Maitlands aren't there.
Oh, okay.
And it's literally just a sentence.
Yeah.
Because at one point she's just like, what about the people that used to live here? It's like, oh, they found a loophole and they're gone.
Right.
That's literally the sentence, basically.
Wow.
And you're just like, nothing else? You're not going to tell me what the loophole is, where they went? Nothing? They're just... Like, fine, I guess. Like,
you know
I'll
what?
just go with it.
You know what? I would prefer that to
like CGI
de-aged versions.
Well, that's the reason I'm not like upset about it.
Yeah,
but I just wish I had got more than just a quick sentence.
Right,
kind of thing. That's the only issue I have with it.
It'd be better if it was worked into the plot in a way that like made sense or whatever. But I don't know. That fucking man, when they brought CGI Harold Ramis back, that just like fucking. I haven't even watched the Frozen Empire. That shit is on Netflix, and I'm watching Korean movies over here because I'm like, no, fuck you guys. I do not want to watch that.
There's no CGI Harold Ramis in Afterlife, or sorry, not in Afterlife, in Frozen Empire.
Right,
he is in Afterlife. Right, so that's different.
No, but that was just like, nope. I'm not gonna do this. It was like when I watched Jurassic World, and then they came with a sequel to Jurassic World. I'm like, why would I watch that? I fucking hated the last one like a lot. Why would I keep doing this to myself?
I still never saw the third Jurassic World.
So, well, speaking of horrible giant lizards, let's talk about Microsoft. Bryce mentioned this last week's podcast because we recorded on Thursday and it happened on Thursday. But
it happened like the same day, yeah.
I didn't have it all set up, so we unfortunately have to do the horrible 2024 dance of layoffs and industry bullshit. So
this one was a pretty big one.
Yeah. Okay, but here's the weird thing, Michael, is I have some weird thoughts about this one. So Microsoft laid off 650 people from their gaming division, and they said that the cuts were mostly to, and this is a quote, corporate and supporting functions. And I wonder, I really do, whether this is all Activision, because one of the things most people know this, so if you know this, it's fine. But I'm sure there's somebody out here who doesn't know this. When you have like two fully formed companies and they merge together, like whoever buys the smaller company, quote unquote smaller company in this case, like the smaller company is going to have a huge support staff, right? But if you're the bigger company and you have a support division, you don't need that support staff, right? Like you roll that support directly into your support staff instead of just onboarding like another whole division of support into you. And I think that because they also mentioned corporate, right? You've got like mid-tier VPs or whatever. And it's like, well, we have our own mid-tier VPs. This place is owned by us now. Like because they're like absorbing Activision as opposed to just like keeping them like Bethesda as a separate studio.
Well, yeah, the thing is that when this news story first hit, everybody assumed it was another one of the large scale, like, hey, investors called us, they need an extra $20,
right?
Cut a bunch of people kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I remember being upset by it, especially because during the announcement, Phil Spencer's like, here's the deal, we fired like triple digit amounts of people, but everything's fine.
Yeah.
Like the games are fine, the studios are fine. Like, don't worry about it. I know people lost their livelihoods because, again, it sounded on paper. It sounds exactly like that. It sounds super cold, super heartless. But the reality is, it is all of those things. But the difference is that it is, like you said, it is a merger version of this, and it's not the first time we've heard of this in general.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as in like you guys are dumb. You've heard this before. No, this is, I mean, like in like large scale news within the past. Not even decade, which is when Disney bought Fox, where when they merged, the news came out. They're like, where they did the exact same thing.
Yeah,
they had a bunch of VPs, a bunch of executives, a bunch of random people. They're like, you guys, we literally don't need you because we already have those people over here.
Yeah,
there's no point, and so they just cut a bunch of people that way. And it's not a strange occurrence because then you're doubling up the amount of people you need for zero reason other than to look slightly better.
Yeah.
But like that ends up costing you way more than you ever need to.
Yeah.
And, and it's the one reason I can't blame them in this instance. Like you said, the support thing. It's easier to just be like, we already have an entire fucking team.
Right.
We don't need a whole other team on standby for zero reason.
And sometimes when they do this, because we don't know the exact details, right, is that if there is a support staff, like say at Activision, and they are being purchased, they might have cut like 25% out of that support staff, merged them into the Microsoft support staff, and then just said, we don't have to take your entire staff to deal with the problems that are going to come up. We don't need your entire C-suite of executives. We have our own gigantic C-suite of jerk-off executives. Now, I do want to be clear, though, because there was a little while back where I was like, I do think that a lot of times I get a little bit irritated at this happening at Microsoft because, like, Microsoft is a $3 trillion company.
Oh,
they are
100%.
so big that it's like, bitch, why don't you just fucking create a new division? Why don't you create some people who know how to troubleshoot Outlook? Because I had people just straight up lie to me the last time I had an Outlook problem, and I fucking pay for Outlook like a chump. So I do think that sometimes that there's a real benefit to keeping teams together, like teams that work well together, they're established together.
No.
Like there's a real benefit to doing that because just like smooshing a bunch of people together who've never met each other before can a lot of times result in friction and problems. And I do sometimes think that that a company as big as Microsoft should have a little bit more. They should take a little bit more care with these things as opposed to they seem like they're just like a fucking elephant in my bathroom just knocking shit over and like they have no idea what they're doing. They're just so big and they're just going around back and forth.
Well, one of the things that I didn't think about that was brought up to me when I was watching somebody. I was watching a YouTube channel called Inside Games talk about it for a little bit, which is the fact that I feel like the reason we're hearing more and more about this now, and I don't mean just these cuts, I mean the cuts from before, the random stuff that has happened over the past couple of years, since the deal has gone through, is that I bet you that very high up on the Microsoft totem pole, they weren't paying attention at all to anything going on the gaming side. Because on the gaming side, back for a long time, they were just like, they just need peanuts compared to what we do to stay afloat.
Sure.
And then until Phil Spencer's like, I just gave a company $70 billion
Right.
for so I can have Call of Duty. And somebody at the top just went, what? Like really loudly. And finally is like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? And they're finally like, now they're finally paying attention to the amount of money being spent. And this is the reason why a lot of people think this is finally, all this stuff is happening, Game Pass going up.
Yep.
Layoffs,
because they
so
have to
forth
start
and so
turning
forth.
a profit.
They have to pay back the $70 million or $70 billion with the B to the people on the top to be like, well, you need to make this work, or otherwise you just wasted $70 billion.
Yeah. That it's like in the beginning, the attitude was just like, I don't care what you got to spend, just make it work.
Yeah.
And then somebody was like, wait a minute, how much did he spend? I didn't literally mean that. I was like,
it's like I was just signing things, and then you were just like, no, this is a great idea.
Yeah.
Like you caught him on his way to lunch, and you were like, yeah, I need $70 billion. Fine, I don't fucking care. I got a pizza that's gonna get cold if I don't get to it in time.
Right.
And then he's mid fucking pizza eating, going, wait, what did I just do?
Yeah. So that happened. There's not really very much more to it than that, though.
Not really.
Because Phil Spencer came out and said this isn't going to affect any games. As noted, because this is support staff and executives, this is not studios. It's not game developers. It's not even QA, who usually gets to, feel the horrible end of the shit stick when it comes down.
No.
Not that I don't pour one out for my support bros out there.
No, we're still bummed. Was the reason why when I mentioned was like, it's still cold and heartless.
Yeah,
but it's an expected cold and heartless move,
right? Compared
to the just random cold and heartless move.
Yeah, it didn't just kind of cut like the last ones. Well, like the last time that we talked about this, it was like, oh, we closed Tango Gameworks. And it was
for
like,
shits and giggles.
What? And they were like, yeah, but we want to make sure that we provide interesting new indie concepts to people. And it's like, that's what that was. That's what that studio was.
We need more mid games, just like that game, that studio we just canceled or closed down.
Right.
Like just like that one. You're like, what the fuck?
Real cognitive dissonance there. So this is less that, and it is a shame, but it's a shame. Yeah, there is no but. It's just a shame. So
no, it's a massive shame.
Another shame. Well, this is a weird one.
This one came out of nowhere.
So, Anera Interactive. Everybody that worked there just quit last week
randomly.
Yeah, just like on a day, like done. Now, apparently, I didn't really know that much about this, but apparently, Annapurna Pictures. Annapurna Interactive is a subsidiary of Annapurna Pictures, which is a production company that is owned and founded by this woman named Megan Ellison, who is the daughter of the founder of Oracle, Larry Ellison.
Really?
So, like, he just has $1 gajillion, and his daughter was like, Daddy, I want to run a fucking A24 art house. And he was like, anything for you, princess. Here's $2 billion. Go do whatever the fuck you want to.
Good luck.
So they had that, and then they had the subdivision, Annapurna Interactive. Annapurna Interactive has published a bunch of games that you actually know. Everybody knows. Kentucky Route Zero, Outer Wilds, Neon White, Stray, bunch of games, bunch of really high-profile indie games.
Yeah, and they've made a bunch of decisions even recently that we talked about not even that long ago.
Yeah. So apparently, what happened was that Annapurna Interactive was in negotiations with Megan Ellison to spin their Annapurna Interactive off into a separate entity. And as a publishing house, like I think we've had stories like this before, there's like 25 people. Like we're not talking about like an office full of 6,000 people.
It was literally just the subdivision. Like the most subdivisions you've heard of a company.
But they were very good at their jobs.
Yes,
like you look at
super good at their jobs.
Look at what they've done, and you're just like, oh shit. Because I mean, that was a thing where anytime they had Annapurna is putting this out, and I'm like, I'll take a look at that. It's kind of like Devolver, right? Where it's like, good job.
It was like where Devolver was doing it for like weird, insane shit. Annapurna was doing it for very heartfelt, interesting things for the most part. Like I'm not gonna pretend Neon White is like the ultimate like artsy thing. Like it's the outlier, to be honest, of the stuff I feel like they've released.
So
but even then,
apparently then Ms. Ellison like pulled out of the negotiations to spin them off into their own thing. And we don't really know very much more than that, but apparently whenever that happened, then everybody at that company just quit immediately. They were just like, fuck you, and left.
That's
like,
what's so surprising about it, because when you hear they're like, oh, they just stepped away from the negotiation table, you assume they're like, okay, well, we'll come back to this.
Yeah.
Instead, they were, like you said, they all just fucking left. They all resigned at once. Like they were all together, which I think is actually very impressive, because I feel like there could have been one guy being like, well, if I stay here long enough and if they all leave, maybe I'll be in charge, kind of thing. But that didn't happen, and I think that's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Solidarity and such.
Well, I think that you can't really read between the lines with this stuff, but in my head, the thing is that they said, like, Megan Ellison stepped away from the negotiations, which could have been like, I need to consider your offer. I've considered your offer, and I don't think we're going to be moving ahead with this process, but let me know if you have any questions about this concern. Yours, Megan. Or this could have been, listen here, you little fuck. You're never going to work in this industry again if you keep this shit up. This is my business, and you're going to sit here making money for me. And meanwhile, you've got a staff of 25 people that all know each other. They're like, we have picked like 24 of the best video games in the world for this spoiled brat to put her fucking logo on. And I am not about to be talked down to by somebody who got handed this business on a silver platter. I can pick games for anybody. I could go to Embracer Group and make them a shitload of money, and they'll pay me stupid wages before they fire me. So, hey, gang, let's all leave. Like,
that's the thing, is that when a story like this happens, and there are two sides to the story, or not two sides, but two sides, and one side is the daughter of a billionaire, and the other side are normal working human beings. Then of course you're going to have some biases of who you trust in that situation. Sure. And so I do trust the working side of it, because people don't just quit in mass for no reason.
Yeah.
There's something happened that caused them to do that. And not only caused them to do that, but caused them to do it together.
Yeah.
Because if it was just the idea of like, hey, like you said, the beginning part, where like, hey, I decided to go against, or not go against, but not do this. Let's work on maybe looking at this later on. And if one of them, like the main guy being like, I'm the one who's like, we definitely should do this. Like if he left, then that's the only one who left.
Yeah.
Out of 25, that's a fairly normal thing to happen.
Yeah.
An entire team from top to bottom.
Yep.
Just fucking left. Mm-hmm. That's unheard of.
It is. Apparently it's unclear right now exactly. Man, they have put out some fucking bangers.
Yeah, a lot of really good shit.
What Remains of Edith Finch, Gone Home, Donut County, Florence, Outer Wilds. I assume this is like a Journey PC version. Sayonara Wild Hearts, Kentucky Route Zero, Unfinished Swan, Pathless, Maquette. 12 Minutes. Oh, I like that one. Artful Escape. Yeah. Solar Ash.
A lot of amazing things.
Hohokum. The Cocoon game from last year, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, like that. Flock.
They're the Thirsty Suitor.
Thirsty Suitors.
Thirsty Suitors.
Yeah. Anyway, so the big question is that, like, 3 weeks ago, Remedy signed a deal with Annapurna that they were going to fund Control 2, and then they were also going to potentially do some spin-off stuff. That deal was with Annapurna Pictures. In fact, actually, now that I think about it, so it's unaffected by this, but now that I think about it, it's possible that Megan Ellison did an end run around her own video game publishing arm to get Remedy in the pocket of Pictures and not Interactive, because you would think that, like, Annapurna Pictures is going to put a bunch of funding into Control 2. Why wouldn't Annapurna Interactive put the funding into Control 2?
See, I thought it was Interactive at the time.
No.
But I don't think I realized that was the case. Like, is there something that still mentions that it was Pictures?
Yep.
Because, again, I assumed it was then when we talked about it. Because I remember having that conversation about how we were surprised, or not surprised by the fact that Remedy was partnering with them, of all people.
Yep. Here's a Kotaku article. Annapurna Pictures also recently announced that it would co-finance the making of Control 2, Remedy's entertainment sequel to the hit paranormal Metroidvania, as well as develop TV and movie adaptations of the Alan Wake games.
Oh, that's why they did it with Pictures, probably, because of the movie, the TV side.
Mm-hmm. There was a tweet from somebody. Many of you reached out asking about the news about Annapurna. Thank you for your care. Remedy's deal was for Control 2 includes Alan Wake and Control AV rights is with Annapurna Pictures, and we are self-publishing Control 2. So,
okay. That's why they didn't make the deal with them then.
Yeah,
because they were publishing it themselves, which good for them, to be honest. I'm very happy for them still.
But there's also some, and so there's a question of, there are a few things that are under Annapurna Interactive that have not come out yet, so it's unclear what the deal is. Like, the biggest one is probably Wanderstop, which is that game from the Stanley Parable creator about the lady at the tea house who's got the dark background. That's the one that I'm most concerned about, because I was really interested in what was going on there. So,
well, as far as I know, they did announce. I forgot if you had this in your stories, which is that they will honor past agreements.
Oh, okay,
is what I heard.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, if that's, I'm sure that there's contracts in place that means they can't just it doesn't matter if everybody quit.
Yeah,
you still got to give me the money to publish this thing.
I also heard they're working on replacing all the people left anyways, and with the amount of layoffs that's happened, I don't think they're gonna have a hard time filling it. Problem is, they're gonna have a hard time filling it with people with the same type of taste.
Yes,
so that'll be different.
Those guys are good pickers. Let's see.
I wish them all luck in whatever they do. If they all decide to make one giant company themselves, good for them.
I hope so. Okay. Embracer Group was letting Saber Interactive spin out of their clutches.
Oh yeah.
A little while back, they were doing a buyout for it's like $250 million or something to buy themselves out from underneath of Embracer and go back independent. They were taking a whole bunch of studios with them, like 3D Realms is in that deal, and blah blah blah.
Did not know that.
There was a question. There was an option for 4A Studios. Oh, god damn it. I fucking hate this so much. Don't tell me that website's in it. There was an option for 4A Studios and I believe Zen Studios. So 4A Studios and Zen Studios. 4A Studios makes the Metro games. Zen Studios makes those pinball games as well as some other games that we play.
They make a lot of them, actually.
There was an option, and there was Jason Schreier actually came out and reported that apparently it had been finalized that Saber was going to, because they had the ability basically in that buyout to up their bid to something like $500 million and then take those other studios with them as well.
Oh, okay.
And it was thought last week that was going to happen, but apparently Schreier got it wrong. Because Embracer came out and said no, they're keeping hold of 4A and Zen Studios.
Oh, okay.
So Saber is still taking the list of studios that Saber is taking is kind of crazy. Nimble Giant, Fractured Byte, 3D Realms, New World Interactive, Sandbox Strategy, Slipgate Ironworks, Madhead Games, and Digic. And just to give a brief rundown, they have made. I'm not going to go into who made what, but Star Trek Infinite, Insurgency, obviously 3D Realms with Ion Fury, Expeditions, a Mudrunner game. There's a bunch of stuff in there, mid-tier games. So
they made some very long-lasting things.
Yeah,
or most of them have.
So yeah, that's just an update. Let's see from there. You remember Penny's Big Breakaway?
Vaguely.
It was like an old school kind of N64 3D platformer with this lady with kind of like a yo-yo kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was really good. And apparently they had to lay off. It's funny because there's like a headline where they're like, the company had to lay off staff. When you read the article, what you find out is that they had to lay off 6 employees.
Oh, boy.
But this is a company that is between, it is unclear, between, I think it's 19 and 50 employees. So
that's a lot compared to what they had, their team.
Yes. So yeah, and there's not much more to it than that. They put out a statement basically saying that the same industry pressures that have caused layoffs in other sectors have also hit them, and they just can't afford as many staff as they used to, so they have to let some people go.
It's a funding thing. It says that they couldn't get the funding in between games, basically.
Yeah,
and that has happened to tons of people.
Yep.
The last one one of the biggest ones that happened to that we talked about not that long ago was what is the name? Bring Me the Mars guys.
Oh yeah, Deliver Me Mars. Deliver Me, Moon, and Deliver Me Mars.
Yeah, they were making the next one.
Right.
They couldn't get the funding for it, so they had to lay off some people.
Yeah,
it's exactly. And they're probably slightly bigger than they are too.
They lay off almost everybody, and then they started Kickstarter, and I think that the Kickstarter succeeded. But
as far as I know, it did. Yeah, because that one was Deliver Earth or whatever.
Yeah, Deliver Us Earth. Yep. Okay, check this one out. It was 1 year ago today when Unity decided to charge people they tried to make that horrible change.
Oh,
where you were going to charge people.
Unity chainsawed their leg off, thinking it was a good idea.
Yep, where they were going to charge people per download after a certain amount, and then retroactively apply that to anybody that had ever used Unity,
which was
for
insane.
Anything throughout the entire thing. They had to walk that back. They still had a runtime thing where, depending on the number of downloads, you had to pay like a specific amount after a certain amount. But it was priced so that it would only affect like really big companies, which I think was probably their idea in the first place. But they were such fucking ding dongs about it. It was changing from day to day. Like from day to day, the policy was changing because you had like every indie developer in the world was like, well, I guess I'm using Unreal Engine 5 now. Thank you very much, Unity.
Yeah, they kept changing their terms and service and be like, look, the terms and service was this the whole time. They're like,
right.
No, it wasn't. You just keep changing it and hoping nobody noticed over and over again. They did this for like months.
Yep. It all ended with John Riccatello getting fired, as well as a few of the other executives.
It was bad. It was brutal.
Unity came out and basically said that they're just rolling back that entire thing entirely.
God damn.
They're going back to the old ways. It's basically there's the free Unity, and then there's like 2 steps above that where, depending on the number of seats that you need, you have to purchase licensing for developers at a certain point, but it's all just like an upfront thing. So it's interesting because Unity during the pandemic hired a shitload of people. I think they were the one that bought like Weta, like they had like the Weta effects arm of Unity.
If I remember correctly, yeah.
Then they did this, and it was so disastrous that first they had to fire their C-suite, and then then they let go of a whole bunch of people, then they let go of a whole bunch of other projects, and like 4 years later, they're just back to where they started again. It's like the end of fucking Casino over here.
Yeah, because it was crazy because they were one of the first ones to do a bunch of layoffs really early on.
Yeah,
because they did all the hiring. I knew somebody who was fired in the original set of layoffs. And then there was a gap, and then they did another set of layoffs, and then there's a gap, and then this happened, and then everything went to shit.
Yeah.
And they lost so much, not just goodwill, but like basically the market share of people using their engine to make games dropped immensely because they were on their way up to the point where like schools were starting to think about using them to like teach gaming stuff because it was so like not just user friendly, but like beginner friendly with its pricing and everything. And then they're just like, but what if we just did none of that instead?
Right.
And just like destroy everything we built in like a month. And, and they did. It was fucking brutal.
It was amazing. Well, it was like one of these things where they were just, it was the very definition of like the surprise Pikachu face, where it's like, if you don't like it, you get the fuck out of here. And everyone was like, okay, see ya.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait.
Not like that. Not like that.
And like,
leave the money.
They were too slow to act because it was like, okay, well, if a development team that was starting in Unity saw this news and they were like, fuck you, I'm going to use Unreal Engine. And they started like converting everything to Unreal Engine. If you roll back those policies, they're not going to want to go back and undo all the work that they've done.
They've gone too far.
Yeah, so...
And there were plenty of giant people, well, not giant, but like people who made their games and exploded outwards in popularity who were barely making any money from that to begin with. Like just being told, hey, it's cool that you're popular now, but like, and you're barely making it as it is. what if we like made it impossible to make any money now?
Yeah.
Like that's what they were telling people. And like you said, retroactively doing that wasn't just telling the new people. That was telling everyone.
Yep.
Hey, you made that game on this 10 years ago? That's great. You owe us like $1 million.
Well,
now.
and then, I mean, for anybody who wasn't around during that time, I'm sure everybody remembers, like, it started to bring up questions of, like, well, it's per install. So what if a malicious actor just writes a script to, like, spin up a virtual machine, get the game, buy the game from Steam, install it, uninstall it, refund it, spin down the virtual machine, and then just like keep doing that to the point where they wouldn't have like they wouldn't be on the hook for money. Like they would keep getting refunded the same thing, but I would be on the hook to continually be paying you royalties for all these bogus installs.
You just reminded me of my favorite part of this entire thing.
Yeah.
Is that they did all this and then they're like, by the way, this also counts for consoles. So this was them looking Sony and Nintendo and Microsoft in the face going, you owe us money.
Right.
Thinking that was a good idea.
It was a terrible idea across the board.
Bad.
Terrible idea across the board.
I almost forgot about that until you mentioned the install thing because the question came up with how does this affect Game Pass Unity games?
Oh, right.
Because you don't pay for those.
Yep.
But now Microsoft would have to pay for the thing because they had it. And it was so stupid.
There were so many bad things
There
because
was so many questions that were not answered.
At the beginning was like, how do you know who's installing a game? Do you have something in Unity that's calling back to your servers?
It was so stupid.
That's not a thing that's ever existed before.
And if it was, you were now violating a lot of laws, privacy-wise.
Yeah. Anyway,
it was brutal.
It's good.
It was the stupidest thing that anyone has ever done in this company. Or not just this company, but in gaming in quite some time.
I'm glad to see. The thing that I liked the most about this was that they had to fire the guy in charge. Like they had to fire the executives that made these decisions.
Well, you remember that was the guy who that quote came out from that he had said years ago, where he wanted to charge people for magazine in Call of Duty.
Yep.
And even the power money hungry people of Activision and all those guys were like, "What are you, stupid?"
Yeah. Yep. And with that, I think we're going to go ahead and take a break. We got more news coming, so stick around because we're not done with the corporate shenanigans. We're not done with the corporate shenanigans just yet. We'll be right back with more podcast. And there's more news, Michael. The news never stops.
In them hills, you said.
The news, it never stops. Yep, next up, let's talk about Defiance.
Can we not? I'm just kidding. I thought it was fine.
Well, we had this report that came out. Were you on when we talked about it? Where it was like internal things from Ubisoft about how like you bitches have like one more season to get your player numbers up.
Yeah,
and then we're gonna axe you.
I remember us talking about that, and I had the same thoughts where I'm like, hey, this is fine. It's a fine game.
Yep. Apparently, one of the producers for Defiance came out to make a public statement to be like, "Oh no, that's not fine. That's not true. Everything's fine around here."
There's no war in Bong Sing or whatever the fuck that quote is.
Quote, I just want to quickly address the status of the game. Is the game dying? No, the game is absolutely not dying. We know there are things where we need to improve, like netcode /hit reg and adding more content to progression, but the game is doing well. We just want to do better, and we do that by addressing the concerns of our community, which has always been the plan. Ubisoft is very much behind us, has allocated more resources to the team in order to do just that.
Yeah, they're behind you with a gun, as it turns out. That's why you're having all those conversations.
So, it's funny because I'm of two minds about this. Like, I would believe you if last week I didn't have a story about how Ubisoft will give everybody $9 in Defiance fun bucks for just logging into the game at this point.
Really?
That was the thing that happened last week.
I didn't realize that. I should log in.
But then by the same token, Ubisoft For Honor took like years to get to where it is.
That, and it's been around forever.
And then Defiance has already launched. So the idea of like you need to do some fixes on it, but then once a game is launched, right, unless you're doing like a complete overhaul, you're talking about just adding stuff to the game. You know, you're adding new skins or new factions or new whatever. And that's not a huge resource drain, right? Like it's something that can be done relatively easily. So
I know I've had many people tell me this over years, which is that once a live stream game has got going, or not live stream, a live service game has started going, whether it's an MMO, a shooter, or a MOBA, any of those kind of things, it doesn't take a lot to keep it going.
Yeah.
Which is the reason DC Universe Online has lasted a million years.
Yep.
It's the reason why, like, every one of those. That's why it's the most surprising for anybody why Concord went downhill so fast.
Yes.
Like that. They're like, you could have just left it like another month and saw how it went.
Right.
And so, yeah, with Defiant, you know, they're clearly not using a lot of money probably to do this, because I don't see announcements where they're like, we just made 10 levels kind of things. Like, no, they're like, we made a new skin. Like, that doesn't take a lot of work, especially because a lot of their skins are just like the same thing with a different camo color.
I think it really just depends on how many people are playing it. Right. Yeah. It just depends on what your player count is. Like, I think the reason that Concord got shut down was because there wasn't enough people to even keep the meager player base that was there going. Like, you have to have there's like a bottom tier. There's a bottom like number there where you can't go below X this number. So
yeah, but we the thing is, we don't know what the number is for the company. We don't know what we don't know the number for Ubisoft. We don't know the number for Sony, and we sure as hell don't know the number for Babylon's Fall.
Oh,
because that one reached 1, and they still were like, let's give it a little more time.
Yeah.
so it's like you don't know with these things, and even when somebody who's working in the team is like, everything is fine, you still don't know if everything's fine.
Right, because they're always going to say everything's fine. You can't take the word of the executive producer of the game. They might not even know. They might think everything's fine, and next week I might be reading a story about how Defiant is now shut down. It doesn't exist anymore. Like,
I was thinking of, what show is it where the guy is saying all the things, like, and he's like really happy about it, but there's a guy directly behind him with the gun jammed into his back.
Yeah.
I think it's a Simpsons episode. It's been a very long time since I've seen the meme. But that's what it feels like, where he's like, everything's fine, and he's just sort of like slowly jabbing the gun further in his back. Everything's great. We just got to fix some stuff, and everything's fine. And he's just like looking to the right, being like, help me.
I think that my final result is my final thought on this is just what I said before, where like, if next week Defiant gets shut down, I will not be surprised. If 5 years from now we're talking about the newest update to Defiant, I will not be surprised.
Yeah.
Like,
I generally don't know what causes something to last longer or not, because I've seen MOBAs rise and fall. I've seen battle royales that you people have not believed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The only thing that would surprise me is if in 2 months there was a story about how Defiant's numbers are higher than Call of Duty 6.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That would be surprising.
That would be the most surprising thing.
Like, Call of Duty 6 launches, and there's something about it that just like everybody disliked that, and then they all went to Defiant to get their fucking like class-based Modern Warfare shooter.
That would be so fucking funny.
Yeah,
I want it to happen.
That would be the only thing. So. Let's see. Speaking of shooters, we've started to get rumblings of the next Battlefield.
Oh, yeah. I heard about this.
Yeah, Vince Zampella came out and basically said that they are working on a new Battlefield. It's funny because one of the things, I don't really know that much about Battlefield in general, but like one of his quotes here was like, I mean, if you look back to the pinnacle of Battlefield, it's that Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 era where everything was modern. And I'm like, well, one, I just, would like to take a moment to say that Battlefield 3 was the very first Let's Play that I ever did my entire life.
Was it really?
That was the Friendly Fire Will Not Be Tolerated episode. Battlefield 4, I thought was like okay.
I thought it was okay.
That was the one that started with them in the car and Total Eclipse of the Heart is playing and they fall in the lake and he's like, I don't want to fucking die to this song, and I was like, what's wrong with dying to that song? It's a good song.
It is, but he didn't want to die to it.
That was when it had Omar in it. Like,
it did.
And then he came back in Battlefield 2021 as like it's the same timeline. He came back. Michael, God, I don't remember his last name. Omar from The Wire.
Yeah, I don't know his last name either. I know, but I don't know his last name either.
So anyway, in talking about the new one, it looks like they want to go back to a modern warfare setting as opposed to either historical or futuristic, because the last one was futuristic and
but that's not exactly why. That's not exactly why people hated it.
Yes. They also talked about how they want to cut down, because the big thing for Battlefield 2021 was, or 2020,
I don't know,
whatever it was,
something
was that it was
2042. I can't remember.
128 player matches.
Yeah,
and they said, like, we looked into it. That's just not, like, it doesn't feel like Battlefield when there's that many people on the screen. Like, we want slightly smaller maps with like 64 players.
Here's the translation in my head. We couldn't get that shit to work correctly.
I can actually believe this, because like the difference between playing a 32 on 32 match in Battlefield and playing Planet Side is
true.
Very different, or like War Thunder, or one of those big ass fucking MMO games. It's also worth pointing out that Vince Zampella was not the director for Battlefield. They put him in charge after the last one launched, after it crashed. Yeah, after it wasn't good. He was over at Respawn doing Apex and
that explains that.
Star Wars, right? And then they finally just like they put him in charge of the Battlefield franchise, and he's been working on the prototypes for it. So yeah, there's no information about like.
Well, I heard they were also getting rid of one other thing, which was the specialists thing.
Oh yeah. They did a kind of a half-assed hero shooter thing in the last one, and no one liked it. So they want to just go back to the class-based. Basically, it's just like we tried to change everything up in Battlefield 2021 or whatever. I think
it's 42.
I thought 42 was the older.
If it's in the future, I assume it's 42.
42 was the old one with the mechs.
I don't know. We can look it up. The problem is I'm just guessing.
2042. Okay,
so I was right then.
Okay,
that was a lucky guess.
What was the one with the mechs?
I don't know. I didn't play a lot of Battlefield.
Yeah, so basically it
Maybe
sounds
it was the
like
cop one. I don't know.
It's Hardline. Oh man,
they put robots. It was a RoboCop game the whole time. No one noticed.
for a while there, I swear to God, like Battlefield and Call of Duty were both just like garbage, like doo-doo sticky garbage.
Well, yeah, they used to be the ones that were neck and neck with each other, but then people just stopped liking them the way they used to.
Yeah. Oh, that wasn't smart. You just
typed in the word Battlefield.
Battlefield. There we go. I was looking for that one. Let's see. What was it? Blah, 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 blah. To 2142.
Okay, so that was even further.
I could be forgiven. It was still 42. It was just
super close.
2142 instead of 2042. I was only off by a century. Come on, that's not that hard.
That's why they weren't robots yet.
Yeah, it was just one number.
They were just specialists instead.
So anyway, yeah, we basically just got like that, and then there was like a brief little teaser concept art thing of like a city with a bunch of helicopters and like rockets and shit coming off of it.
I hope they bring back all the weird shit that happened before with like the weather and skyscrapers falling over and stuff. That stuff was really cool.
Yeah. I think it was Battlefield 4 that had the thing where it was like you could trigger the Megalodon. Like, if you did the right thing,
if you did the right things,
Megalodon would come out. Like
that was an insane idea.
Yeah, I think they'll probably keep some of that stuff. I think it's just like with Zampella at the helm. I think it's like let's pull back from some of these things, try to get this, because 2042 was a fucking horrible failure.
No, it didn't do well.
And then after years, they kind of managed to get it like propped up and bolted together enough to fucking walk forward like a horrible Frankenstein. But Call of Duty's just been eating their lunch for a while. So
Battlefield has never had really good launches. Because even Battlefield 4, as much as everybody's like, I loved Battlefield 4. Battlefield 4 had a terrible launch. When it happened, it was buggy. It was a mess. But I feel like it wasn't as much of a mess in certain aspects. Because I remember one of the ones that made me laugh the hardest from 2042 was they're like, there's just no scoreboard. It's just like, we have no fucking idea how you're doing. Good luck out there. And you're like, what the fuck?
The latest patch is implementing a scoreboard. Like, wait, that wasn't there?
I was shocked. I was dumbfounded. I was like, what the hell's wrong with you people?
I'll give it a shot like anything. I'm sure Jason will be very happy because he hasn't had a Battlefield to play, and that's his franchise that he likes a lot.
Maybe they'll do Bad Company 3.
Do Bad Company 3, you cowards.
Yeah,
do it. Just come on, do it.
Come on. You know you want to.
Also, there was a brief thing where Zampella was asked about the PS5 and the pricing on the PS5 Pro. And
they're going to ask everybody about it.
Yeah.
So what's your grandma think, Zampella?
He basically came out and said, like, well, one, he came out and he said, like, all we can do with the PS5 Pro is like we will be making the game for like the base PS5 hardware, and then we will basically be using that additional hardware to try to make things look better. But it's not like we can only make it. You can't make a PS5 Pro. The next Battlefield game can't only run on the PS5 Pro and then be ass on the PS5 regular. Right?
Yeah, that's they're smart enough to realize. They're smart enough to know it's not do what the 3DS did with the new 3DS versus the original 3DS.
Right.
Because a lot of people forget this happened at the time. Was if you bought a 3DS and you bought a game that had the words works better or some shit like that on new 3DS, it was miles differently between the one I remember the most was Hyrule Warriors, because they did a release of it on there, and if you had the original one, it was like a handful of enemies at most. Like you didn't see a lot of them because you know they're used to the giant sweeping amounts of people you're mowing down. They're like, there's like 5 of them.
Yeah.
And then you bought the new 3DS version and it was closer to what you were expecting. And yeah, that was definitely like, that's such a shitty thing to do kind of mode. So I'm happy that he said that, because it means that like, hey, don't worry if you don't have $700 to spend, the game will work for the most part.
He also talked about the price and said like, there's a kind of a thought about the price out there that says like, is it expensive? Yes, but this was never meant to be like the new standard. This was supposed to be like the premium thing for 4K graphics junkies that want to buy something that's $700 that looks better. He also talked about how adjusted for inflation, it's not even the most expensive thing that Sony has put out. And I went online and I opened up an inflation calculator and I started pricing out the PS2 and the PS3. And the PS2 ended up being like, I think it was like $580 in our current time. Oh, okay. But the PS3, the $600 PS3, and if you do the adjustment for inflation, that thing would have been like $800 in today's money. Like,
yeah, it was. I remember, and that was like one of the baser versions of it too.
That was the base unit. So, so he's not wrong. I still get it.
No,
I mean,
I get it.
Personally, yeah, man. I wish it was cheaper. I wish everything was cheaper.
Yeah, here's the
Hot
thing.
take.
If they had announced that thing and it would have been, and it was still $700, but they told me, hey, by the way, it still has the disk drive, I probably would have still done it.
Sure.
That kind of thing. The only thing that's keeping me from doing it is the fact that I have to spend even more money to get what I want.
Right.
So it's like, I got to wait for that sucker to come down in price if I do that. Also, I have to figure out how to paint Spider-Man shit on my PS5 because they don't sell faceplates for it.
Yeah. Again, just a hot take. It is the opinion of Jeff from RageSelect. Everything should be cheaper.
Yes.
If you gave me an option and they were like, Jeff from RageSelect, how much should we charge for the PS5 Pro? It'd be like $50. 50 American dollars. You will sell so many of them for $50 a pop.
You would sell so many.
Ooh, boy.
Would you make any money off of it? Who knows?
Did you hear did you listen to last week's podcast?
No, I didn't get a chance to.
So I have an idea for how Sony can win you back with the PS5 Pro. No controller comes with optical drive. The controllers got raised to $75. The optical drive is $80. Give me a bundle. I have 3 PlayStation 5 controllers. I don't need another one. It's not any different. give me one with no controller that also has the optical drive in it. Like,
no, yeah, I would buy that. I would buy that immediately because here's the thing, guys. I have 6 PlayStation 5 controllers.
Right.
I don't know why I do.
I don't.
But I have 5. I have 6 of them.
Nope. I have 3. Michael has 6. Between us, we can figure it out. It's like, just give me the thing. I don't need the controller. This is an upgrade, not an original purchase.
I had to stop myself from buying another one too. I don't even remember which one it was. It was one of the special edition ones that I was
this is like those fucking
kind of neat.
This is those shirts that you buy that are like $80 a piece that you've got like 60 of.
Yeah, the Spider-Man ones were on accident, or the second Spider-Man controller was on accident, which is the reason I have so many of them.
Let's see. In other PlayStation news, we have, this is interesting, a former Bungie lawyer who's one of the people that helped with the deal.
Oh, okay.
With the deal for them to get purchased by PlayStation.
The motherfucker got out like a bandit.
Yeah, he came out with like, I don't know, it's just like, man, people be going crazy on LinkedIn. Like, they just be on LinkedIn fucking saying shit.
Well, here's the fun thing I realized. Here's the fun thing I realized about LinkedIn. LinkedIn became the business version of Facebook.
Yeah.
And it's the funniest goddamn thing because nobody has a filter anymore. They'll just say the wildest shit for like zero reason.
Yeah. I don't know if the post, I think it's still up actually, to be honest. Yeah.
Oh, it's still there.
So Don McGowan, he said, much though it pains me to say this, it appears that Sony's inflicting some discipline on my former colleagues. May have forced them to fix things that were wrong with their game. To be clear, I'm not talking about the layoffs. I'm talking about forcing them to get their heads out of their asses and focus on things like implementing a method of new player acquisition, not just doing fan service for the fans in the Bungie C-suite and running the game like a business. Good. I still have friends in that environment, and I'd like them to keep their jobs.
That's a hell of a statement.
Yes.
I love them for that, though.
This is the one, though, his second paragraph. This is the one that I love the most, where... yeah, I'm just going to read this because it's amazing. This is the future I thought the company should embrace after the Sony acquisition. A studio, not a quote-unquote independent company. But there were a lot of egos for whom it was important to pretend that, quote, nothing would change. I remember sitting there during the deal saying, do you think Sony describes this as them getting to pay $3.6 billion for the right to have no input in what Bungie does? That was exactly what a lot of people thought. I guess they've been
so stupid.
Given cause to understand that that's not how things work. Good. The changes described in this article are the things that you do to run a franchise, not to keep making a game you or your friends have mastered or to chase trends.
That's so fucking funny.
So, man, people out, business dudes out here on LinkedIn ain't fucking holding back. They're going crazy. This is like the fucking damn of business statements from a lawyer.
Yeah. I love that. It's obvious why he said it. He's like, I'm not there anymore, and I've helped the deal's done. I got the money.
Yep.
And I'm happy to say that all of you were dumb motherfuckers.
Yep. This was in response to an article that I talked about last week where Bungie is talking about trying to make smaller expansions, not the big story expansions, and they're trying to think about how they can do new types of gameplay, new ways to basically make it more fun to do these in-between updates as opposed to these big story updates that either fucking make or break the entire goddamn company on whether they sell or not. So...
and they're free to play right now, so that makes it even worse. Like, you can't just... not make any money in between.
Yep.
So you have to figure out ways of keeping people playing.
Which, this goes back to my thing on the one hand where it's like, in a lot of cases, I'm not a fan of big corporations telling game studios what to do with their games because you can come up with bullshit. But on the other hand, we go all the way back to the first story about Microsoft. There are days where I'm like, listen, man, if a company pays X billion dollars for your company, you should expect someone to come start breathing down your neck about when they're going to be getting their billions back. Yeah. Like,
Well, not only that, like, there's sometimes you need somebody who's slightly like a bigger company or somebody. It doesn't even have to be a company. You just need somebody. You need fucking Alec Baldwin to come in and fucking yell at you.
Right.
Because sometimes you're just like, I'm just boozing along, doing jack shit.
Yep.
And then they're like, what the fuck is the stuff, man? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, where's the product?
You gotta be selling stuff. You have to always be selling, you jackass.
Yeah.
Like, you're a live service game.
Yep.
You can't just be like, it's done now. It's like, fuck you, dude. That's not what's happening here.
Yep.
And there are too many companies I keep hearing lately where they're just like, we're just hanging out kind of thing, and then they'll come like that's what happened to Anthem. That's what happened. It's what almost happened to Duke Nukem Forever.
That's what happened to BioShock Infinite. They threw away 2.5 full games worth of content.
It was insane.
And then finally 2K like fucking sent the Alec Baldwin in to be like, you have 6 months to make a video game or you're all going to be beaten with fucking pipes.
We are going to sue the shit out of you.
Yeah.
For so much. And again, that's what happened to Duke Nukem Forever. They're like, we don't care if it's terrible. Give us a fucking game.
Yeah.
We paid you. We're going to sue you. Fucking come give us our shit.
So, yeah. A lot of times.
And no one's done that to fucking, what's the name of that space one? Star Citizen.
Oh, Star Citizen.
No one's done that to Star Citizen stuff.
Right.
But that's because they don't they don't answer to anyone but their dumbass selves.
They got independent funding, so yeah. Sometimes it's okay to have somebody with the financial backing come in and be like, okay, the grown-ups are in charge now.
Yeah.
Like, I know you've been playing for several years, but
I know
like,
you guys have been fucking riding scooters down the hall.
Put a fucking Deadpool skin
nerfs on you
in Destiny and sell it for $4. Like,
make a new Carlton dance or whatever. I don't fucking care.
Yeah, something. Speaking of online multiplayer games that have kind of gotten their act together, we got some good Helldivers news this week.
Okay.
First off, we got a trailer for the Chemical Agents Premium Warbond, which is a bunch of like gassy green smoke things.
Oh, that's fun.
It's got some skins for stuff. It's got a drone that shoots this kind of like acid. It's got like a little handheld projectile thing. It's also got a pistol that'll just heal people at a distance. You just shoot people with a pistol. You can use your pistol as like a remote heal. And it all looks pretty cool. I don't know. Hopefully that works. But that's not all, because the big news from this week is that they applied their patch to rebuff a lot of the fire stuff and a lot of the weapons that have been debuffed.
Thank God.
And apparently it's being very well received. I actually saw an interesting post on the Helldivers subreddit where it was somebody like, hey, guys, it's great that Helldivers 2 is like really fun again. Let us all not forget that you guys were big pieces of shit like right before this patch came out. You were been harassing the studio for like 6 months, and every day you've just been complaining about this game, and now you're just like, yay, I'm having so much fun. Huzzah!
Look, Sonic's face looked terrible. I'm not going to apologize for bullying Sony about or that Paramount for this.
But like, there's a bunch of new stuff. They're still working on it. There was another story I didn't have in here where they talked about they're now talking about how they might need to add like an additional difficulty setting, because like you've made everybody more powerful, so even the hardest difficulty now seems easier, so you might need something even above the hardest difficulty.
You gotta be careful
to take care of that.
You're just making it crazier.
But the favorite note, this is from a PC Gamer story. My favorite note by far is the thermite grenade, which had its explosion damage increased from 100 to 2,000.
Oh my goodness!
So, yeah, it looks like they're rolling back and trying to make the game super violent fun again.
Here's the thing: a lot of the thing that always annoyed me about them nerfing things constantly, it was like, this is a PvE game.
Yeah, like
you don't need to nerf these things that much. Like, just let everything be murderific. Like,
well,
just throw more enemies at them and hope for the best.
I think that the difference would be that if they didn't have the orders, right, is that if there's not a sense of overcoming challenge to complete the major orders, that if those all just get fucking blown by 10 minutes after they get posted, then it's not going to feel as good as like working towards it.
Well, that's what makes it tricky. That's what always makes some of it trickier. But the problem is that if you keep nerfing and instead of doing anything else, then all you're doing is just making the game worse.
Yes.
And that was the main issue.
Yeah,
was
agreed.
that they were looking at things going, now that doesn't work. Now that doesn't work. It's like, cool, but what works now? Or like, what do you mean what works now?
Yeah.
Like they didn't have a yes and part. They had a no, fuck you. That was the end of it.
Here's another thing for Helldivers that was interesting. Apparently, there was a whole thing that happened. This is an old ass This is like, it feels like an old ass Helldiver story. So there was a napalm barrage stratagem that was out there, and it was part of a a major order, and the community didn't complete it.
Oh yeah.
And then the devs like let them continue using it like on a temporary basis and gave them a second major order to complete. And it was funny because it looked like it was a big Terminid hunt, and it looks like they were supposed to kill 45 million bile spewers and 100 million warriors. And they got to a point where, and that was, if they did it, then they got the orbital napalm barrage as like a full unlock.
Yeah.
And they were like 3 hours left, and they still had like 15 million bile spewers to do, and it looked like they were going to do it. And then like, what did they say? It was something like 30 minutes before they hit it. They pushed through and hit it and got it.
That. So I'm happy that there's enough of a community to murder 15 million things.
Yeah,
in a small amount of time.
With over 2 hours left to go until the deadline, it hit 100%.
That's amazing.
That's what you want. That's what you wanted to Helldivers 2 is you want to feel that like, oh yeah, man.
Yeah, dude. That was the thing when Helldivers is at its best. You feel. Okay, this is going to sound bad, but you feel the propaganda. You're like, yeah, propaganda. Like you're like freedom, and you know you're not supposed to, but god damn it, you love it.
Super Earth, motherfucker.
Exactly.
All right, I'm going to go kind of quick through some of these. Valve, so Deadlock has been in beta, and it's got apparently right now it's got a relatively big cheat problem because it's fucking in beta.
Yeah,
and because it's a Valve game, people are using cheats on it. Valve has come out and basically said that their next thing that they're going to be working on is a bunch of anti-cheat, like ways to report people, ways to ban people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
That's good. I actually just got into it recently. My friend sent me access to it, and I'm fucking terrible at it.
I haven't tried it yet.
It's the reason I'm terrible at it is that it doesn't have any controller support in any shape, way, or form, and I do not have the muscle memory for keyboard.
The mouse and keyboard.
So I'm literally like being like, okay, I gotta hit shift, and I have to look down to figure out which one is the shift to do stuff.
Yep.
It's like, oh, you have to melee with Q. I'm like, shit, which one was Q again? It was just funny because I can type really well, but my mind does not understand like having to hit all these different things with one hand.
Go play Portal. No pressure.
Oh, okay.
That's how I think everybody should get WASD practice. Let's see. There's a question right now about whether GTA 6 will come out in 2025. Or whether it will be delayed. This is a weird story because one of the developers for Grand Theft Auto 4 came out to say like it wasn't until like a few weeks before the game was supposed to come out that they made the decision to release.
Okay.
A couple of months. So the question is, a lot of people are hyped for GTA 6, and they're like, is it going to get a 2025 release date, or will it be delayed? And this is a developer coming out to basically be like, there is no way to tell.
No.
There's no way to tell until you get closer to release and see what state the game is actually in. There's no way. I know that everybody's hyped about this game, but there's no way a year out to tell if it's going to be pushed by 4 months out of 2025.
Yeah, here's the thing. If this was many other games, if this was, for instance, Space Marine 2 or something, I could see somebody being like, well, if we work hard enough, we could definitely make that thing.
Yeah.
This is Grand Theft Auto 6. This is a game that I guarantee you has so many different changes in scope that you can't even fathom.
Yeah.
That they're just like, I have no fucking idea what will work tomorrow, let alone a year from now.
We don't even really know what state the game is in right now.
No, we don't. We generally have no idea. And when those leaks came out of the unfinished one,
like 2 years ago or whatever,
that stuff had so much that was clearly not done.
Yeah.
That was like you said, that wasn't even that long ago. Like, there's no way to tell what the state of a game, especially a Rockstar game, because Rockstar does the most insane fucking shit on the planet.
Yep.
Than any other developer does. People still bring up that if you're playing Red Dead Redemption 2 and you have a horse who's a dude and you walk into the cold, his balls shrink.
Yep.
There's no reason for that,
no reason
other than somebody was there going, I need the balls to shrink. and just insane shit like that. And that's not even like the weirdest fucking thing I've heard that game do.
Yeah.
I can't even fathom what they're doing with GTA 6 when it comes to that idea.
Yep. So probably best just to kind of go with it and see how it goes. We got some news about potential PC releases for some Rockstar games. The Rockstar launcher was upgraded. The PC launcher was upgraded. One of the things that was put in it was metadata for Red Dead Redemption 1.
Oh, fun.
This is a horrible... this is the worst kept secret of all time.
Yes.
Well, Sony put up a page from the PlayStation Store that had a description of the PC version of Red Dead 1 that obviously been copied and pasted into the description of Red Dead 1. And like, so we know that this is coming. It's just a matter of time.
It's a matter of time.
But the other thing was that there was a folder added called Americas. And the code name for GTA 6 when it was in development was Project Americas.
Oh.
So the idea is that the PC release of Grand Theft Auto 6 might actually be a lot closer to the initial PS5 launch.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, they should definitely make sure that everything works on everything.
Yeah.
And they probably want to make sure right away that what they have now will load on a PC from the get-go.
Yeah.
But not just load, but like launch.
Yeah.
From their launcher.
I just don't understand why you would put in a folder that is like XXXXX. Like, why would you put in like? I don't understand how these updates keep getting pushed. Where it's like, do you guys not read this shit before you hit submit? I write a lot of shit for the internet with the YouTube fucking emails and descriptions, and yeah, I've gotten the thing wrong from time to time. But this shit seems to happen a lot.
I always assumed it was a files thing, where like files have specific names that everything has to match.
Yeah.
When they're in the middle of it, and they don't have time to change them all, so they're just like, fuck it, we're just like, I don't have time to change Americas to like, BMX XXX or whatever.
Temp 001.
Because then I'll have to do it to so many other files that I just don't want to do right now.
Yeah.
So I just assume that was the reason for it. I still make that assumption even now, to be honest.
In Rockstar adjacent news, the developers for Immortals of Avium, apparently...
The what? I've never heard of such a game.
have been hired on to Absurd Ventures, which is Dan Houser's spinoff company after he left Rockstar. Like, what's interesting about Absurd Ventures is that to date, they had like a podcast and a comic book, but like no plans for like any kind of games.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
And apparently they're being brought on to make something, some kind of video game thing.
With a company name like Absurd Ventures, they're doing a good job at living up to it.
I am not holding my breath.
I'm not either.
I will wait to see what this looks like.
I assume Dr. Adventure is part of this in some way.
Immortals of Avium was not my cup of tea from the writing to the action. And
it wasn't anyone's. It turns out, I guess, the twist pretty quickly.
Yeah, and the older I get, the more Dan Houser's particular brand of edgelord writing does not appeal to me either. So this could end up being like something really great, or it could end up being something really stupid.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Yeah. Let's see. Speaking of famous people, Tony Hawk came out to say he's working on something big with Activision.
Oh, that's nice.
Something. It's unclear what. He said, I can't tell you anything. What did he say?
I'm making a new motion board. I know how much you guys love that first one that we did.
I wish I could tell you more, but I can tell you that I've been talking to Activision again, which is insanely exciting. We're working on something. This is the first time I've said that publicly. I can't give any detail, but I think it'll be something that fans will truly appreciate. Also, there was a they updated like the art on like the store pages for the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remaster.
That's fun. Maybe they finally were like, maybe we should make 3 and 4 instead of making them do more Call of Duty.
Well, I like the idea that it's like, oh, Activision got acquired by Microsoft, and suddenly Tony Hawk is like, hey man, you want to make more skateboarding games? Microsoft was like, fuck yes, do something.
Can we get more ska in it too? Fuck it, I don't fucking care, man.
As opposed to just fucking Bobby Kotick up there like more Call of Duty, more Call of Duty. What else do we have? Crash Bandicoot, fuck Crash Bandicoot, more Call of Duty.
What if Crash Bandicoot was a live service game that no one liked?
What if we gave Crash Bandicoot a machine gun? Another Activision news. Somebody really briefly came out to basically, this was a, where did this come from? This was Another LinkedIn post that has been
Goddamn LinkedIn, man.
another LinkedIn post that has since been deleted, where one of the people that worked on Diablo 4 said that Diablo 4 has made them $1 billion since launch.
Really?
And 150 million of that is just cosmetic microtransactions.
See, that I'm not surprised by.
So
actually, that's
about a tenth.
I'm actually, honestly, I'm more surprised that it's that low.
Yeah,
I feel like more people would spend more insane. But the reason I feel like it's not that high is there's not a lot of more people playing that game.
Yeah,
like I bet you, Epic makes like half of their shit on cosmetics.
Oh, almost certainly. But yeah, it's interesting though to think that it's just a good reminder that Diablo 4. I didn't care for it, but it's $1 billion. People are out there playing the shit out of it. So
the whales are still spending $150 or $150 million.
Yep. Michael, did you see the return of Flappy Bird last week?
I did not. I'm amazed this happened.
This is a very strange thing. This is a very strange story. God, we don't have a lot of time. Okay, so Flappy Bird is back, and it has a trailer, and it's the original Flappy Bird, but now there's like an overworld map, and there's new skins, and there's a bunch of different birds, like weird looking Simpsons three-eyed fish birds with different skins. And you can now download you will be able to download Flappy Bird in early October on iOS and Android.
So I have many questions. One, did the man get out of his mental breakdown? And two, is he making this one, or did he just sell it to somebody?
The answer to your second question is neither. And the answer to your first question is no. So the guy that made the original Flappy Bird, for anybody who doesn't remember, Flappy Bird was a big thing. It was just a little app. Everybody got obsessed with it, got a big audience. The man that made it, he decided that he did not want... it was Dong Nguyen said he did not want... He heard stories of people that were super addicted to Flappy Bird. It was fucking up their lives. And he was like, I don't want that. And I didn't want the pressure for being online. So he's like, I delisted Flappy Bird from all the fucking stores. I shut down my social media account, and I fucking went on with my life. I just fucking fuck that shit. It was just Flappy Bird.
Crazy. It was a crazy thing that's ever happened.
Then now apparently at some point he filed a trademark registration for Flappy Bird in Delaware. That sat in court without being approved for 4 years. And in between its submission, another company came in and copywrote Flappy Bird. And then they made this game. This has nothing to do with the main creator.
That's incredible.
And in fact, he's come out of retirement to basically be like, this has nothing to do with me. This has absolutely nothing to do with me. He just wrote, no, I have no related with their game. I do not sell anything. I also don't support crypto. Crypto? What is crypto? Well, apparently the company that's made this is backed by a guy that's like big into Web3 stuff. God. And there's a possibility that there might be some crypto
stuff in it.
Potentially. Like, all I can think of is in that trailer how there were all these different ugly variants of Flappy Bird. No. And I'm like, oh no. Oh no, are those NFTs? Now they said that you aren't going to have like a crypto account or anything to do it, but they've also talked about having like API hooks for crypto for Web3 developers to make Flappy Bird. So Flappy Bird has been raised from its rightful place by a bunch of these fucking fuck off tech dicks to shamble around and be fucking awful.
I don't have a dog in this fight because I didn't care for Flappy Bird either. I tried it and I was like, this is stupid. This is clearly just a fucking Super Mario Brother pipes that you just have a bird flapping through.
Yeah,
I don't understand why people love this. And this news doesn't upset me. It doesn't disappoint me either. I don't know how to feel because one, it sucks that the guy who actually like created this thing is getting fucked over, but he also just was like, just took it from
he didn't do
everyone.
Anything.
He just took it. Like it wasn't like he delisted it, but still like it's not like he was still using it to sell things.
Sure.
Like it wasn't like the way Five Nights at Freddy's is. He didn't capitalize on it. He took it off of everything. And from then it became a game preservation issue more than more than anything else.
A little bit. There were a billion Flappy Bird clones out there the moment that shit was taken down.
Well, the difference between clones and the actual original game is different, and especially for like mass consumeration kind of thing. So if anything, all he did was just like leave it to rot, and then somebody waited to do it. And honestly, I can't blame them for doing that at all. Like, if anything, if it wasn't those guys, it was going to be someone else.
I don't know. I blame them a little bit just because I think that the
crypto part is I'm going to blame them for the actual getting the name and then making it a new game. You know?
I think that the creator of the game, his wishes were clear.
His wishes were clear, but he really should have made it more tight, than what he did.
Yeah,
that's really the issue. If he had copyrighted everything and just left it to that, then it probably would have been fine. But it does suck that like
the fucked up thing is I think he tried to copyright it.
I think that was the thing I was going to say. The fucked up thing is that if he had tried earlier, then I don't know why this even happened.
Yeah,
like that to me is the fucked up part.
Yeah,
that part I'm annoyed by. The actual everything else, I still don't really know how to feel about it.
Me too. Let's see. Speaking of weird Web3 shit, apparently. Oh, God, I don't have time for these stories. They're too big. EVE Online is making like an MMO. Like they have a
Is it not already an MMO?
Well, like a ground-based MMO, like a separate chunk of the game.
Gotcha.
Called EVE Frontier, and apparently it's supposed to use blockchain tech. Not specifically cryptocurrency, but I don't actually know, like the details are very sparse, but it's supposed to use some kind of blockchain. And the audience for EVE is like, no, go fuck yourself. But I looked into this and I read it, and like part of this was the idea that the colonists, when you colonize one of these planets, you and a group of people can make your own economy by issuing your own currency.
Oh.
And like then the idea being kind of like in EVE, the way they do corporations, the idea that like, well, then the powers in the quadrant will then determine like how valuable certain currencies are depending on which corporations are like in charge of how many like resources in an area. Incredible. And I'm like, that sounds EVE as fuck.
Yeah.
That sounds super EVE.
That also sounds like what people used to say the blockchain would be used for, like weird, like weird shit.
Yes.
Not the weird like trying to make money things. Like this is more of what I expected from this type of technology.
Yeah, like it's just some kind of central repository of data, but that's like spread out to the point where everybody can like get access to it. It's like the blockchain was not the worst part of the crypto stuff. It was the crypto part. You know, it was like issuing the crypto tokens.
It was the NFT part of it.
And the NFTs. That was the biggest part. But the idea of just a blockchain is just a distributed ledger, right? It's just a ledger that's on everybody's different things. And once you write, it's a write-only distributed ledger.
Yeah, it keeps track of a lot. That was the reason people were able to keep track of who owned what when they came to the NFTs.
Yeah.
Is it was just keeping track of all that.
So the idea of giving the weirdos who play EVE the ability to basically create their own fake money and then have a system where like the different currencies are fighting each other in financial battle while the spaceships fight each other in laser battles. It just sounds like the most EVE thing in the world, but apparently like the EVE audience is just like, fuck you, no, blah, 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 blah. And I think that it might just be reflexive. It's kind of like the AI thing.
It's a knowledge thing.
Reflexive backlash against just like, no Web3. And it's like, well, listen, I don't think that Web3 in the real world is something that I want to engage with, but fucking Web3 in a weird MMO world, like as long as I'm not asking me to convert my money into crypto, then I don't care. Like then there's potential uses for this that are not nefarious.
Yeah, it was the reaction people had to the AI upscaling sampling for the PS5 Pro.
Right.
When people, because you hear the words, yes, the pisser. Because when you hear the words AI, or not even words, but the letters AI, you don't think of the Steven Spielberg film.
Right.
You think of the weird fucking images with like 1,000 fingers kind of thing.
Yep.
And so people immediately lost their shit but me and you have been talking about upscaler stuff for years now. Like you showed me like plenty of things that use that exact thing in PC gaming all the time. I remember the one that I remember you showing me was the it was Death Stranding.
Oh yeah, running like 720
and like really low thing.
Yeah.
And then it upscaled it up to from 720 to like 1080.
Yeah.
Like nothing. And it was amazing. And that was just like, and that was years ago. Like, and PlayStation has their own, like, well, I'm going too far ahead.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, like, this is just that. This is them. This is people hearing the words blockchain.
Yep.
Not understanding that they never said the words NFTs or crypto or anything like that. And they're probably in their announcement. I don't know the full announcement. But the second you hear the magic words, they don't know any different.
Yeah.
Because all they've been told is the terrible side of it.
Right.
So yeah, it's like this is a great idea. I'm curious to see how it plays out, and I hope they start naming them based on like currencies that failed. I think it would be really fun. And I don't mean like cryptocurrencies. I want them to call them like red bucks. You know what red bucks are?
Red bucks?
Yes.
No.
Red bucks are the failed currency of the state of the country of Texas.
Oh, okay. Yeah, do that.
They were called red bucks because they were basically bills that were red, and they were mostly worthless.
Yeah,
which is why you can still buy like chunks of them for like a couple $100 even now.
Okay,
because they're barely even worth anything now.
Okay, we're going to have to cut some of these. We're going to have to save some of these for the next part, but I'd want to wrap up with one more story because we got blockchain, we've got NFTs, and we're talking about AI. I have a delicious AI story that is amazing.
Okay.
So, Spicy Horses, I think, the creators of Bug Snacks.
Oh, okay. The Bug Snacks peoples
had to come out this week to tell people Bug Snacks 2 is not coming out in October of this year.
Huh.
And
why?
The reason that they had to do that is because if you type in Bug Snacks 2 into Google, that stupid fucking AI thing at the top of Google went out and spidered a fanfic wiki for Bug Snacks 2 where somebody wrote a fanfic about Bug Snacks 2, the city, and how I played the original Bug Snacks when I was 8, and now I'm 12, and I can't wait till October of 2024 when I can play Bug Snacks 2, the city. I've heard about all these new things, and it was just like it was kind of a weird thing.
So he just what?
Somebody wrote this as just like a creative fiction wiki thing. It was like
they gave it a date and everything.
Yeah, they just made a date up, right?
Yeah, they made this years ago, is what you're saying.
I think. But then Google AI spidered that wiki and was like, "Oh yeah, man, Bug Snacks 2, the city, coming out in October of 2024." So if you ask Google, when is Bug Snacks 2 coming out? It's like October of 2024. It's called The City.
There it is, right there.
And like, this is the stupid shit with that AI.
Holy shit.
Like, I know that it's posted like, put glue in your pizza to keep the cheese from slipping off. But like, this is like, did you not check more than one place, AI? Like, I don't know how the fuck this is the thing. So anyway, one of the head developers over at Is it Spicy Horse? Is it?
I don't know.
Young Horses,
Young
not
Horses.
Spicy Horse. That's a different
Maybe
thing.
the AI said they were Spicy Horses.
Young Horses came out to basically say, we are not working on a Bug Snacks sequel right now, and I need AI BS to stop telling kids we are based on a Wiki Ideas fanfic.
That's so fucking funny. I didn't even think about the fact that they never announced the Bug Snacks 2 because that never occurred to me.
Yep.
That when you were like, it's not coming out in October, I'm like, what? Why? But then I'm forgetting that they never announced one.
Because it's not a thing.
Oh my god,
it doesn't exist at all.
Holy shit!
It's not anything.
This is what I love about this dumb AIs is that they keep giving stupid answers like this.
Yeah.
Because there was a bunch of them at one point I remember where you would ask something and it'd be like you just got to shoot yourself in the leg or something like that.
Oh.
Like just weird shit like that. It would answer like terrible answers.
There was one. Well, because I actually know why that is, and it was because it was Google paid Reddit to let them ingest all of Reddit.
Yeah.
And so Reddit, you'd have people in the comments that were making jokes, and Google didn't know it was jokes. So that was where like, how do I keep the cheese from slipping off off my pizza. They're like, well, you just mix a little glue in with the sauce and it'll keep your cheese right on top where it's supposed to be. Because that's what somebody in a Reddit comment said. Or there was a one that was like, what should I do if I'm depressed? And they're like, well, you go to the Golden Gate Bridge and jump off. A lot of depressed people do it.
That's right.
That's how you can cure your depression.
That's what it was, yeah.
Like, so, yeah. I, for one...
So funny.
I still maintain that there is no such thing as a fully evil technology. It's just the people that are using these things are fucking stupid idiots.
100%.
So, and with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break. And we come back. We got trailers, but we got a few more news stories. So stick around. And we have a couple of quick stories to go through before we get to those trailers. First, there was a little thing that happened last week, and I mostly just want to point this out to because it was really refreshing. So the CEO of Pocket Pair that makes Pal World gave an interview where they were talking about like potentially turning Pal World into a live service game.
Oh, yeah, I was hearing about that.
And when they talked about it, they were really upfront with like, well, you know, we didn't design it that way. It'd be really hard to do. And like, you know, some of those games will fail a lot. But, you know, if that's what our players really want, like it can sometimes mean a lot more longevity for a game as opposed to, you know, you get the big initial boost and then you got to like fund expansions and stuff like that. So it's just refreshing to hear a CEO talking in very plain terms about the like pros and cons of a live service thing. It has come out that they decided against it. They looked at it and they just said it would be too much work, and then what we got at the end of it would maybe not even be worth it. So
yeah, that's the thing about live service games a lot of people don't understand is that if you don't have the teams for it, then there's no reason to, or not even the teams, but just like the want of wanting to do it, that you really shouldn't do it. Like The Last of Us multiplayer is a good example of that.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, we could do this, but especially with the way, I guess whatever they were doing, I don't know the differences what they were doing compared to others. They need a specific team to stay on top of it at all times.
Yeah.
And they already were starting off as a small team.
Yeah.
This isn't the equivalent of like a fucking Game Freak doing this, where they've had this team for fucking 20, 30 years. It's like, no, we just did this like randomly. Like this is not like that's a bad idea.
Plus, Power World was made with like fucking spit and dreams. Like it was already not the best. It was already like kind of cobbled together. So.
I did hear some Power World news while you're on your walk, but I will leave it for whenever you find it next week.
Okay. Let's see. Some interesting Switch 2 news. I know there was a leak for that too, but we'll get to that next week as well.
Yeah, heard about that too.
But one of the interesting things that happened here is the company that made My Time at Porsche and My Time at Sandrock was kickstarting their new game called My Time at Evershine. And when they were listing it, they listed it as like PS5, Xbox Series X, and unannounced Nintendo Switch platforms.
Really?
So this will be
went
like
out and said it.
Yeah, this is the first time you've seen somebody putting that out specifically. So
that's amazing.
Future Nintendo platforms yet to be announced. The other thing about this is that the Kickstarter goes up on September 24th. Apparently, Nintendo has never not had a Direct in September, ever.
Oh.
And we've got Tokyo Game Show coming up like in a week.
Yeah. They're going to announce the Game Boy Color, too. None of you saw it coming.
and apparently Nintendo has had a lot of developers like invited to closed-door meetings at their studios over the last like 2 or 3 weeks, as reported by some insiders in the gaming industry.
It's like they drink Yoshi blood, Jeff. That's everybody knows
exactly.
that's what it was for.
So
it rejuvenates. It keeps Shigeru Miyamoto alive.
After, what have we been doing this for, like 6 years?
It's been a while.
We're probably finally going to get an announcement maybe by the end of this month, probably before the year is out, almost certainly.
It was 2017.
Is that when they first started talking about it?
When the Switch 1 came out is what I'm thinking of.
I was just thinking of the rumors of the Switch 2 have been going on since like 2019.
Yeah,
2020.
They've been going on almost the length of the Switch itself, almost. It feels
pretty
like.
much, yeah.
But no, yeah, it's been since 2016 since the Switch 1 came out. That is one of the longer time frames of any of these consoles so far.
Yep. Let's see. And then finally, Final Fantasy 16 came out on the PC, or is coming out on the PC very shortly.
Oh.
Oh, September 17th. It's already out. It came out yesterday as of recording this.
Oh, okay.
And they were talking with Yoshida about it, and they asked him, like, well, this is going to open the door for mods. What sort of mods would you like to see in Final Fantasy 16? And he said he didn't want to make any suggestions because he didn't want to feel like he was putting pressure on mod creators. But please, don't make anything like obscene or inappropriate. And it's like, oh no, my sweet baby, that's like the first mod.
Look,
that's
man,
the very first thing that's going to happen. Like,
look, man, if I have to see Leon Kennedy's dong flailing in the wind on Twitter, I have to see Clive's at least.
Right.
At that point, I have to see Ifrit's dong playing in the wind, making an attack.
Second playthrough, just big floppy lava dong on that dude the entire time.
You know how he does that one attack where he like spins and uses his tail?
Yep.
Now it's just his dong.
Yeah.
That's just what it is now.
Double damage. So, yeah. Well, and with that, let's get into trailers. Speaking of games that have a lot of offensive and inappropriate things, Overwatch showed off their new Warcraft crossover skins.
Interesting.
The least interesting crossover of all time. But what I like is they had a little collaboration trailer for it where they have a person that's like in a little cart at the Blizzard World map, going through like a little pretend like ride, and they show off the various guys. So Reinhardt has like a
well, I think it's supposed to be the minigun guy, just that you don't see the gun sticking out of it.
Oh, wait. Oh.
Because when he's in like his gun form, he's like a cart.
Oh, maybe.
I think that's what they did.
Maybe. I don't know.
Because it kind of has that look to it.
So yeah, there's 4 big skins. Reinhardt has what they call that guy, like Frostmourne, Arthas, I guess, the Lich King, basically. Here, I've got the names. I don't know why I'm doing
I don't
this.
know their names, so I can't
Reinhardt
say.
is the Lich King, Widowmaker as Sylvanas. So that's Widowmaker as Sylvanas.
That has a name.
Yeah, this is a specific character. What I thought was really strange was
I've only seen the porn, so I don't know their names.
Thrall. Remember Thrall?
Yes,
I
guess. Question mark.
That's a skin for Zenyatta.
Oh, okay.
Like
I know who it is now.
The guy that was like the orc leader that brought the orcs out.
What a strange thing that we used for that for it.
Yeah, and then Torbjorn is like one of the dwarf guys.
Okay.
Magni Bronzebeard.
Well, that's definitely a name that would go for that guy.
So, yeah, it's a cute little reveal trailer. I mean, like, no matter what, Blizzard's art department is good and their production department is good, even though I don't really want to play their game. They also kind of had a little trailer where they showed off the actual gameplay. It was it's Overwatch, like, just with some new skins on it. What I think is really interesting, though, is that, like they make these really detailed skins that look an awful lot like another thing, but they never change the voices.
No.
So
it's always the same voice. Sure, you have Spike Spiegel as a cowboyman, but he's just going to be Spike Spiegel.
Right. Like Zenyatta as Thrall. I'm sure you guys could have gotten the Thrall. The one thing that was funny about this was there's a point where Torbjorn rushes and he yells his name like Leroy Jenkins. He's like, Torbjorn! And I don't even know what his last name is. Like, so...
yeah, I wish I still cared about Overwatch because they come out with stuff and you're like, that looks really fun and really cool.
Yep.
But you went out of your way for me not to care. So I just because again, if this came out 10 years ago, when both Warcraft and Overwatch 2 was in a place, or not even Overwatch 2, but Overwatch 1 was in a place where people really enjoyed both of those things.
Yep.
People would have been super excited.
I think people still really like it. I just don't think that we do. I think it doesn't. I think it's gone into the niche crowd, right?
Yeah,
it's a smaller group of people
who
like it even more than I ever did, but I just don't care for it. So, speaking of things I don't care for, we got a 9-minute deep dive on the new planet that's coming to Starfield Shattered Space.
Oh, okay.
Because that DLC is coming out like in a few weeks. Like it's not. I think it's in October.
Okay, well, that makes sense because it's very spooky. Like
because I just did the schedule for October, and I was like, should I put this on there? And I'm like, no. And then I watched this, and I was like, oh, good, double no, because it's all about like some faction that I have no idea about. But the big thing that they're trying to like really like nailed down in this trailer is that like this is a totally bespoke planet that we made from scratch, and it's like, okay, Well, that's cool for a DLC. When is the DLC where you go back and redo all the rest of the planets to make them made from scratch?
That'd be pretty cool, right?
Or more of them, just more of them, you know?
Or put stuff on the existing ones.
Yeah. What's interesting about this is that they did talk about how the quest chain in this is all on the planet. So it's not like the thing where you get the thing and then you got to go to another planet, you got to go to another planet, and you got to go blah, blah, blah.
That's good at least.
I think that Starfield is moving in the right direction. It was interesting watching this because I feel like in any other Bethesda game, this would have just been missions that were in the game already. They're talking about like the forbidden knowledge that the sect used to do the blah blah blah. Here's a noun and a verb that you don't know what they mean, and I'm like, it sounds like it seems like they're equivalent of like the Dark Brotherhood quest or something.
Yeah,
but like it's a whole expansion, and I'm like, okay, well the one planet is fine, but I'm also curious about what else is in this expansion beyond this one planet.
Yeah,
because if it's just one bespoke planet, then like.
The plan would be better, be damn worth it, is all I'm saying.
Well, it also... So, the problem that I have with it is there's a continuity issue. If this one planet is like 8 times as dense as the rest of the planets in the game, it's going to feel weird no matter how good it is. Because it'd be like, why is this planet so much more densely packed than everything else in the game?
Yeah, that would be really strange.
So, I don't know. It doesn't look bad. And I think that, again, I had an argument with people in the Discord a while back about this. I think Starfield has the bones to be a good game. It just needs more time, more love, more sliders, more like fixes to the most common things that people have, and more content updates like this. And eventually they might have a game that like deserves to go in the pantheon with Skyrim and Fallout. But right now it's more on the level of like Fallout 76, where it's like there are some people that like it. I'm not really one of them.
Yeah, the pieces are all there. Like it's a space fucking RPG where you can create whatever ship you want. Like there's so many things that's on paper sound amazing.
Yep.
And then you actually play the game and you're just like, man, this is just not doing it for me. I tried. I desperately tried. I gave it like 4 hours. And I was like, nope, this just is not working for me.
The other big thing for me, and maybe I need to load it up now that they've instituted DLSS and I got that new video card, is that like that game also would have been like, if it looked amazing, that could have kept me in more. Right?
Yeah.
But like the fact that when it launched on consoles that it was running kind of crappily, and on the PC they didn't have any of the AI upscaling stuff, and it was like, well, it looks like I have to run it okay looking.
Yeah.
And like
it looks okay. There's not a lot going on even on the planet. So when you land on a planet, you're not even being like, look at this cool design.
Like the vista.
Like the art style's not even there. Like there was nothing to latch onto.
Yeah. Because I actually didn't hate the combat. But then it was just like there was so much time between the combat that I was like, eh. So I don't know. I still think that Starfield has a future. I hope they get there eventually, because this is legitimately like the game I want to play. This would be my favorite Bethesda game if they just got their shit together.
Yeah, on paper this sounded like the kind of Bethesda game I would have really gotten into. And it just didn't. I'm just surprised it didn't.
Didn't do it for me. We also got a big deep dive into Epic Mickey Rebrushed, which is coming out in actually I think it might already be out by the time this comes out.
I'm actually really happy for these guys that they were able to release another, not even just like another Epic Mickey, but like the original one.
Yeah.
Because I always really thought the original Epic Mickey was a fascinating like idea for a game, and even its story is really fascinating to me to this day.
Yep.
Because like it's got like the most forgotten mascot ever made.
Yep.
Kind of thing. Like I think it's fascinating that Disney didn't own the rights to their first mascot for so long.
And it's got that whole like kind of Okami paint and thinner type of thing. Yeah. I just didn't want to play it with motion controls.
No, I didn't either. That was the reason I never really played it. And I remember I would watch people play it because it looked like, again, I'm a big fan of Mickey still to this day.
Yeah.
Not as much as I used to be, but I've always loved the world of Disney, of those specific characters. It's just that, for a while they stayed in that age group.
Yeah.
Where I was always outside of it. Where with Looney Tunes, that age group was everything.
Right.
Whereas with Mickey cartoons for a very long time, at least for especially during the 90s and the 2000s, was very much like, are you 5?
Right.
kind of thing. And then eventually they finally started doing more stuff with it, even now. But the Epic Mickey was the first time in like decades where they're like, hey, you as an adult will probably enjoy this kind of thing.
They got Warren Spector to do it.
Yeah, which is crazy as shit.
Deus Ex guy to do it.
Yeah.
Like,
I still remember there weren't even leaks, it's just that people kept seeing all the insane fucking concept art.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt bad for them because they're like, look, the way you do concept art is you go as far as fucked up as possible,
Yep.
and then you tone it down until people are like, okay, now that's good.
Yep.
And so people were just expecting this super fucked up game.
So yeah,
And it
so
just wasn't that.
They redone the graphics. It's nice. As far as this goes, there's a lot to love in here, but they talked about how they considered a lot of different things, and the two main things that they put in the game outside of just redoing the graphics and the controls were, one, Mickey now has the ability to dash. Like, you can run.
Oh, that's
like
cool.
You can hold down a button and then you can run, so you can get around places like easier than you used to be able to. Because that was like a way to help like cut down on the traversal.
Yeah.
And then the other thing they did was they have all of the like little bespoke 2D like platforming levels that are all references to old like cartoons.
Oh, okay.
That you would go through, and I think they were like, they might have been like loading screens, or I don't remember exactly, but they talk about how one of the things that they really wanted to do was these were not replayable. You play them one time and then they were done, and so they put in like a new thing where you can go back and play them, and you can get like a good time on them, or you can get like the discover different things out of them.
Oh, that's cool.
But it seems like they're mostly keeping their hands to themselves. Like, they're using all the Powerhouse like animation, which was all great, and everything that they've done with the graphics just looks amazing and incredible. So
Yeah, Epic Mickey again. Like I said, it was such an interesting idea, and I'm glad that they didn't just let it die.
yeah, yep. Let's see. From there, speaking of cute animated stuff, we finally got the full confirmation of the Powerpuff Girls in Multiverses.
Yeah, and it's cool that they're just one character.
Yes,
and they just work together to beat the shit out of you.
yes, they're like one combined character, like the was it Tom and Jerry, I guess, is in there.
Yeah, it's kind of like the way
they're-
Tom and Jerry is, but they're one like unit kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they fight together. It's not like the way Ice Climbers is or Tom and Jerry is, where they're separate from each other fully.
Right.
Like they still like separate from each other here and there, but they feel like they're closely knit when they're not fighting.
And they look great. They got they did a bunch of original voice lines they showed off in this trailer.
Yeah.
That was great. The one thing I thought that was interesting was apparently they also have as an alternate costume the Rowdy Rough Boys.
Yeah, and they
with
have
their voices.
their own voice acting, and I'm like, that's awesome as hell.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite thing about it.
And it's weird, but it's so weird. And it's like, man, Warner Brothers is really putting a lot of time and money into this game, and I just don't feel like people are really playing it all that much.
It's because they went really hard on the monetization in a way that's kind of gross.
Yeah.
That people just aren't as into it as they want to be. Like I never really did the season stuff, the season pass stuff. Like I've been able to get it for the most part because I'd bought the version that gave me a lot of the season pass like free things.
Yeah.
But if I had to pay for them, I don't think I would.
Yeah.
Like, because there's just not a whole lot to it at the moment, unfortunately. They really went out of their way to like accidentally kill it in a weird way, but they're trying to keep it alive. So, I'm happy for them for that, at least.
Yeah. We'll see. From there, Michael, we got Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Apparently this was a big thing.
It was huge.
Dragon Ball GT characters are in here.
Yeah, so Dragon Ball GT, for people who don't know, it was the spin-off that was made that takes place after the original ending, the Dragon Ball Z, that did not involve the original creator. Like he made some designs and he gave them to them just for like the fuck of it, but he's just like, none of this is his. Like, the story isn't his, the The characters aren't his, like none of except for the ones that already existed.
Yeah.
And so it is the black sheep of the Dragon Ball universe. People either like it or they hate it with a passion.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle where I'm like, I hate the first half of the 64 episodes.
Okay.
But the second half I really like.
Yeah.
So they so everything in this game is for that second half, which is very exciting. So this is the most love GT has gotten in like years, because before Dragon Ball Super came out, they used to be like the top of the power scaling until Super came out, and we were like, yeah, no, that should exist. You don't have to think about it anymore. And so yeah, they went out of their way to make sure people didn't think about it for a long time.
What I can say from watching this trailer is that I have now ingested, because of your ass, I've ingested a lot of Dragon Ball, and I can say that what's happening in this trailer seems more stupid and ridiculous than the stupid and ridiculous stuff that I normally see happening in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero trailers.
And it's true, because everything that's happening in this trailer is directly lifted from something that happened in the anime.
There's a character called Great Ape Baby.
Yes.
Great Ape Baby. I can't even say it.
So Baby is like an organism that can like
No.
It's like a parasite that takes over people.
No, stop telling me things.
So that's why he's a great ape, because he's inside of a person.
Yeah.
He's not like, that's why he's a great ape.
And this isn't like, it's like coming out in like a few weeks.
It's very soon. It's October, beginning of October.
Yeah.
And if you buy the $100-something bajillion edition that I'm getting, you get it slightly more early.
Oh my god!
But they actually came out with another trailer today that shows off the rest of the.
all the rest that haven't been announced yet.
Yeah, it turns out there's 182 characters altogether.
Good God Almighty!
And before people were like, "That's a lot of characters." A lot of them are just the different form of single person. There are 17 Gokus, if I remember correctly. And it's just Goku beginning, Goku middle, Goku ending, and all his forms are 17 characters.
See, so when this comes out, it'll be 1, 2, 3 weeks away.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 weeks from now. But I'm very, very, very excited.
Yep.
And yeah, that's, like I said, that's the most love Dragon Ball GT's gotten in years, and I'm very happy for all of the people who really, really like Dragon Ball GT. I just really think those Super Saiyan 4 looks really cool.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for that. And I'm also excited that Mega Shenron is back, because he's funny to me, because he just looks like anime Doomsday.
Pretty much.
And it's because he's just this white fucking character who's the ultimate being, who's impossible to kill.
They're all the ultimate beings.
And he's got a bunch of spikes on him. And I'm the only one who's ever pointed out the fact that motherfucker just looks like Doomsday in the Dragon Ball community, and I have no idea why nobody else sees it.
There you go. I put this in here, but I'm not entirely sure whether there's anything in here. It was 8 minutes long, and I ran out of time, and I didn't watch it.
So the fun thing about it is that it involves Terry talking sometimes about like things that he finds exciting.
Yeah, this is the Street Fighter 6 character guide, Terry.
Yeah, and so it's just showing off stuff that Terry does. But every now and then, I think it's in this, where in the middle of it, Terry will say something about something he does. And here it is. Or says stuff like the bad boy does this. There's one thing where he says he uses rising tackle when he plays basketball. Okay. And people were like, if I got fucking rising tackled in a basketball game, I would just quit right then and there. So it was pretty funny. But no, I'm very excited for Terry.
He's already out.
He's already out at the moment.
He's already out, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think he just came out not that long ago. But people are already posting stuff about him, and
because this is a real,
I'm just really happy about it.
This is a real Smash Brothers ass like technical detail, explanation type of thing.
They go into like everything that it does, the stuff that like you can specifically do with him, as well as stuff that only he can do, like the going behind the other frame that other people can't. So I'm very happy that I'm very, very happy that he's going up in popularity again. So he's like the like cameo character du jour right now. Like it would be weird, but I almost feel like if I saw him in the new Mortal Kombat expansion, then I'd be like, yep, he's been in every fucking other thing. Why not? Like, he's the SNK representative again. Yeah, I'm happy for him.
Let's see. Speaking of Capcom stuff, we got the full story trailer for Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, which by the time you hear this, I will probably have already recorded a dojo for.
It's already out.
Several dojos for. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think it's already out. This week is weird for me, so
it's because you covered Wars.
That's
sorry, I had to use that line.
Well, you know what's interesting about this one is that they were showing a lot of like the mall stuff previously. And then I watched this one and I was like, wait, this one shows off a lot more of the like weird shit that happens, like the fucking paramilitary guys and
that's
the
like
other
the ending
funky
of the
characters.
game too.
Yeah, like the weird psychos. Like they've been showing a lot of that stuff off. They've mostly just been showing like here's some zombies and stuff, whereas here like the psychos and some of the crazier looking characters, and it's like, oh yeah, all that's in there too. It's not just, yes, I think I thought that Dead Rising was kind of boring looking when it first came out because it was just like, well, it's just like mobs and mobs and mobs of zombies. But no, there's all this weird shit in the Dead Rising universe that's not just that. Like,
because all those original trailers were very focused on just like murdered hordes of zombies.
Yeah.
Never really telling you what was going on.
Yeah.
And then the further you get into it, when you find out what's going on, you're like, wait, this thing is batshit insane.
Right. So yeah, and I do like the way that the I like seeing the psychos. Like they still have like exaggerated expressions, but it's interesting to see those in the
A more realistic
the
look.
Resident Evil engine, where they
Yeah.
kind of look like human cartoon people a little bit.
It kind of sells it more how insane they are too. Because of it.
It's good. It's good. I can't wait to give it another shot. Because Capcom's been on a roll. I've liked the stuff that they're doing, and I want to see more of it. So,
100%.
Yep. Let's see. In other zombie news, we got a full gameplay video for the Arizona Sunshine remake. This is the one for me. I'm excited. This is coming out in a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay. And you have the VR for it too.
Yeah, this is the PSVR 2 version of Arizona Sunshine 1. If you have Arizona Sunshine 1 in your PlayStation library, you can upgrade for like $10 or something.
Oh, that's good for
so
them.
I'm definitely going to be doing that. It's interesting because this is a really early mission in the game, but they're showing like a lot. They showed like, because in the original PSVR version, like, using two guns was weird feeling because you were using the ice cream cones.
Yeah.
So you had to kind of pretend like you were holding the front of the gun.
Yeah, because a lot of those things didn't have because a lot of people forget this about the old ones. It was like a stick. You were holding a stick.
Yeah.
But you had to like aim in like weird ways that felt unnatural.
Yes.
Especially when you're supposed to be shooting a gun.
Yep.
And so, like, that's why they used to sell peripherals that were like, you wanted to like a gun that you slide the thing into,
Yep.
kind of thing, and they either worked or they didn't, depended on the game.
Yep.
And so, like you just had to hope for the best for it, really.
The thing that I'm actually, I don't know, I actually really like Arizona Sunshine. I never got back to playing the second one because it was like, I'm more out of shape than I was when the first one came out.
I get it. I've gained a lot of my weight back that I lost last year, so I'm just like, I need to get back in the shape about that again.
But the big thing I remember was in Arizona Sunshine 1, there was a segment in a mine where you had a flashlight in one hand and use your gun in the other hand, and you had to hold the flashlight up like you were holding it like a cop, like to look around. And that wouldn't be a problem except for the fact that the ice cream cone has the ball that the camera tracks on the back.
Yeah.
So when you held it up, you were obscuring that from the camera, and it would just freak out. And that whole segment, it's like you have to be using the flashlight because it's pitch black otherwise.
Yeah, there were a lot of games that were like, this is a great idea, but they didn't think about how the camera worked.
Yeah.
And that just fucked the whole thing. Even Wii games were like that too, that had the sensor bar.
But Arizona Sunshine 1 is it's a fun game. It was a good VR game. It's probably my favorite VR game. They just give you a lot of ammo. The zombies are slow walking zombies, so like you got plenty of time to fucking pulp the melons and all kinds of stuff. Like you can put on hats and you get to eat food to get your health back.
Okay.
It's fun stuff. So
yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, give it a shot.
I'm a big fan of the way VR games work now.
Yes. We got the Warden trailer for Remnant 2. This is a new class in the new expansion. It's one of like the futuristic tech guys.
Oh, okay.
And apparently it's all based around this kind of drone and shields, and like you can either give yourself like rechargeable shields, or you can heal yourself, or you can set the drone to be like damage, and you can use it to protect other players and stuff. And it all looks really cool. This is in the new expansion for that biome that's out right now. The third expansion came out last week. Or this week, I forget. My dates are all fucked up.
Design for that guy, though.
Oh, the main character.
Yeah, he's got a big
with the weird like flat head.
Yeah, it's like a cone.
He looks like there's a character in Kaiju number 8 that has a real kind of similar type of thing. So
I can see that.
I'm glad that Remnant 2 worked out. Got all this stuff.
I'm very glad that worked out because Remnant 1 was a major fucking pain in the ass, but everybody really seems to like Remnant 2.
Yep. Let's see. In other crazy shit, we got this trailer for this game called Decadent. This is on the PlayStation channel, and it seems like it's like a weird, like, this guy is like in a forest, and he's got like an eyeball on the back of his hand, and he keeps hallucinating, or keeps seeing the real world. Like, he keeps switching between these kind of like worlds with like weird cultists and monsters in them, and like kind of just being in the forest with these kind of strange witchfire looking guns. So in this trailer, he like he's looking at these guns, and one of the guns starts whispering to him, and then when he picks it up, the guy that's trying to give him the gun turns into like a monster, and he shoots him, and then he like flashes back, and he's just like a dead guy, and he's like, well, what have I done? And like there's a later part where he runs into a bunch of guys, but then like he hallucinates, or maybe not, I don't know, that it's like a bunch of weirdos trying to like kidnap this girl, and then he ends up murdering all of them. And this is obviously all pre-rendered, and it's got way too much motion blur on it.
Yeah.
Like it looks like
it's trying to be like a found footage thing is the issue,
like Vaseline on the camera and shit. But it's definitely got some kind of like old ones going on. Like it ends with a thing where there's basically just like some kind of weird Cthulhu monster like popping out, and he's using like a book and the eyeball on the back of his hand to like try to get rid of it. I don't know. I'm interested to see what this is.
I'm very interested to see what this is about whenever they show the actual game.
Yeah, coming next year at some point. So like obviously, again, this is like a pre-rendered trailer. Like none of this is actual gameplay, but
yeah,
it's interesting. It's an interesting vibe. Let's see. In other horror games, we got like, I don't really know what this is. It's like a music video for that clock tower thing.
Okay.
I think it's like an intro, but it's a real kind of like Snake Eater song. I don't know. You didn't get a chance to listen to it. Kind of a crooning song, along with all these like hand animated kind of intro. It's like watching the intro to an anime.
Yeah,
but it's for the Clock Tower remake, and it's like, man, you guys are putting a lot of fucking work into this Clock Tower remake.
I'm genuinely surprised.
Slap that shit out there. We all would have bought it, but
like they went out of their way to make an entire music video.
Yeah,
for a game that came out on what, like the PlayStation 1 or something?
No, I believe this was like a Super Nintendo game.
Yeah, which is even crazier to me.
Yeah.
But, good for them, because holy shit.
Yeah, it's very strange. Like, they've added a lot of additional stuff, but then there's still the actual art of the game still looks like Clock Tower, so...
It's such a niche, like, cult classic. That they seem to be putting a lot of love into it.
Let's see. Well, speaking of weird shit with music... Did you see this trailer, Michael? Miss Rosen's Wow-tastical Marching Band?
I did not.
It is a very weird game coming out for the Switch. It's made by a company that made this other type of game. It looks like it's just kind of a visual novel with some like weird packing stuff, but all of the characters seem to be scans/video of like live action people and toys and stuff.
Okay.
That do this weird, like, kind of repeating wiggles when they do stuff.
This is horrifying.
It's very strange. It's about this clockwork majorette lady like trying to get together like this band, but then everything, it's hard to describe because it's a real wacky fucking thing.
I don't know how I would describe it either. That's the thing.
Like part of it seems to be fitting objects inside of other objects, but then there's like a part with a full-on Muppet.
That is just straight up a Muppet.
And then, like, it's like a mini game where it's like this kid and the Muppet, but you turn the kid into a T-Rex, and then turn the Muppet into, like, getting eaten by the T-Rex, and then the T-Rex throws a fucking Ryu fireball at a Muppet. I don't know. You got to go watch a trailer for Miss Rosen's Wild.
I don't know how this game works. The more I look at it, the more questions I have.
Yeah. They made another game that was called Elf something, and and the other thing that's weird to me, Michael, is I'm having a really hard time understanding, are these actual live action people, or are these like the Skyrim UE5 sex puppets?
They look like people.
They look like people.
But they also are rendered. I can't fucking tell.
Rendered in a way that makes them so inhuman that it's like, I can't tell.
The kid's idle animation thing that was in that last part made me uncomfortable.
Where he's just like
he's like
shimmying his hips back and forth.
Yeah, it's making me uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's really, really weird. It's very strange.
This game would creep me out. If you took Chris and you gave him a bunch of acid and made him play that game, I'm sure he would think he's in hell. Because what the actual fuck am I looking at?
Weird.
You guys have to look this shit up.
You do.
Because it's one of the weirdest fucking things I've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, elf. About an elf. Is this the one?
Yeah. It says it's a launch trailer.
And it's got the same style. This came out a little while back.
Oh, yeah.
It's
got the exact same style.
It's the same thing, and it's so fucking weird.
That is an elf lady on a cat.
Yeah, riding a cat.
Talking to a cake.
And, like,
person.
There's broccoli with a face. It's one of those things where I'm like, who are these people? And
what?
Why are they allowed to do these things?
They're allowed to release them on Nintendo.
Right. And so it's like it's not really animated. It's more like showing poses and then going to other poses. But then like I have a hard time. I have a hard time figuring out what the fuck is happening here. So
it's somehow less disturbing than the new one, though.
Yeah, the new one looks more realistic, which makes it more disturbing.
Well, they also have more animations than the new one.
True.
Because even in that older one we saw, they moved a little bit, but not nearly as like bombastically as they do here.
So go watch Miss Rosen's Wowtastic marching band trailer, and you tell me what the fuck is going on here.
Fucking weird.
Speaking of weird, Michael, this one's for you. Bigfoot Life. This is like
you guys don't know why he said that, by the way.
I do.
You might I might have talked about something a long time ago on Mike, but I don't think I ever did.
Anyway, this is a Bigfoot simulator game where you just like roll around as a Bigfoot. You like eat stuff, try to avoid people. Apparently, you get to like heal animals like with your Bigfoot powers and like take a dump in the woods.
Do you ever run into the $6 million man at any point?
No, but apparently you can meet other Bigfoots and like play with their children.
Oh, that's fun.
And like look at people. I don't know. It's a very weird game.
I'm more amazed this is the first time I've seen a Bigfoot simulator.
Yeah.
But by that I mean like you are Bigfoot. I've seen people hunting Bigfoot simulators. But this is them just being Bigfoot.
And it's obviously a very independent studio.
Yeah.
This, very low budget.
Like I'm not going to see this on the PS5 Pro anytime soon kind of thing. It looks like a fun time, though.
Yeah. Pacific Drive has a big update called Drive Your Way that's coming out, where you can basically like customize the difficulty of just about everything in the game. So you can make it so that like power is infinite, or you can make it so that your car is like a fucking brittle twig that the moment it touches anything, it just kind of like explodes.
That's really cool.
And they also have a bunch of different settings that you can do in order to like really customize your gameplay. And then they've got a bunch of presets that you can use if you don't want to tweak everything, but you could also tweak everything. So
that's really cool.
Yeah. I liked Pacific Drive a lot.
Yeah, you were obsessed with it when it came out.
Yep. This week, we also got the launch trailer for Caravan Sandwich, which was a like an indie kind of a driving around in a van collecting stuff.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, also kind of a twee relationship type of thing. And the main character looks like Lois Griffin, sort of,
does,
but from the future.
Well, did you see the tweet by the person? The person who was making the character was designing all the character stuff.
Yeah.
Literally tweeted out, they're like, I don't know how I'd ever noticed this.
Yeah.
But it's the same color palette and everything as Lois Griffin.
Yeah.
Why did none of you tell me this this entire time that they've been working on this? And people were like, I just assumed you knew.
It got good reviews. I don't know if it's the type of game. I'm kind of worried about like putting it on RageSelect just because I'm not sure if it would be interesting or if it would end up being just kind of like one of these boring kind of driving around type of things.
Okay.
I don't know. It's kind of cool though. Oh boy, we got to go faster. Lucky Squire got the launch trailer. It's a nice little papercraft thing where they tell the story. Plucky Squire is out. If you have PS Plus, you already have Plucky Squire. Go play it. It was pretty fun.
Yes, it's really cool.
Yeah. You have PS Plus, right? Are you thinking about playing it?
Is it a free one or what is it on?
It's included with PS Plus.
Like the current one, or what do you mean?
Yeah. You go home and download it right now.
I'll have to go check out that then.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was part of the. Is it the default one?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I have to check.
Let's see.
I've been playing too much Fortnite.
We're playing a lot of Fortnite. We got a really brief. I'm going to skip this. We got a really brief Mario and Luigi Brothership trailer. I find it weird. This game is out in November, and we getting like a 30-second teaser as opposed to more.
I'm more surprised we know
stories.
so little about this game.
Yeah. And then let's see. We got the release date for Wizard of Legend 2 for the early access. I really like the first Wizard of Legend, and even though I don't like I like the kind of 2D pixel version in the first game. I'm not as big a fan of the 3D in the second game, but I'll give it a shot because the first one was fun as hell. October 3rd, that's going into early access. And then what the fuck is that? That's not. Oh, I think I opened a new tab.
Yeah, looks like it.
And then we finish up with we got a new Assassin's Creed Shadows world trailer that's kind of just a montage. It's so funny how like I'm physically incapable of getting excited for this game. Like,
I forget it exists every now and then.
yeah, like there's nothing I could point to with this trailer that is wrong, but on the other hand, I'm just like, whatever.
The issue comes down to the fact that every bit of goodwill I had for Assassin's Creed has been long dead.
Yeah.
Like, because if I like something, no matter how long it's been between, I will still love it. That's what happens with, Beetlejuice. Like, Beetlejuice 1 came out years ago, but they made a sequel, and I was like, I'm gonna watch that. I literally watched it Friday after work. Yeah, kind of thing. Like, if I love something, I will go out and do everything I can to get it. And Assassin's Creed lost all of that. I can't even pinpoint the exact moment it happened. I just know one day I just stopped giving a shit.
Unity.
That is for most people.
Actually,
I think
no.
That's where it might have hit for me.
Okay, so Assassin's Creed 3 broke my. I didn't like Assassin's Creed 3 very much.
I didn't either.
And so that like broke the streak of 2 of all the Ezio stuff.
It also broke my enjoyment of the story.
Right.
But I liked 4 quite a bit.
And then 4 came and it was like, oh, this is great. Return to form. Then Unity. No, I did. That was a buggy mess, and I hated it. Then Syndicate, and I liked Syndicate. Okay. And then
Rogue was in the middle of that there too.
Yeah, Rogue was like a spinoff, and then you got Assassin's Creed Origins, and that was like, no, I'm not interested in this. Like, I'm just not interested.
And I know a lot of people that's where they ended up liking Assassin's Creed. Yeah, it's strange. I don't know. It seems to be the turning point for a lot of people. I stopped, I think, at Unity.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to almost certainly go over time, but we're going to try our best not to. We got the release stuff for the second half of September on Xbox Game Pass. So Wargroove 2, Frostpunk 2, and Aura, that weird civilization game. Aura History Untold is what's coming in the back half, the last part of September on Game Pass. We got a lot of indications that Black Myth Wukong might be getting a DLC early next year on Chinese New Year, which would be in January of 2025, which actually be pretty perfect.
Yeah.
So I think this is currently like a rumor, more than a rumor, less than a confirmed thing. So
I hope it does well for them if they end up doing one.
Warhammer 40k Darktide got a Taiwanese game rating for the PS5. It is not currently on the PS5.
It's always that Taiwanese game rating.
Yep.
Every time.
So there's a good indication that at TGS we might see the announcement of Darktide for the PS5, which apparently is good because Darktide has turned their fortunes around and it's very fun. I think you'd have a hard time selling Darktide in a Space Marine 2 world, personally.
Oh yeah,
but
I'm sure.
Whatever.
I'm sure they. Well, that's the thing is there are people who like specific things and specific games.
Yeah.
That might end up being fine with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see that stupid Hobbit Shire Animal Crossing game.
I forgot about that.
Has been delayed out of late 2024 into early 2025.
Sure, I guess.
Yeah, I think that game is going to be trash.
It doesn't look very good from anything we've seen on it so far.
Even for the genre, it doesn't look very good.
Exactly.
Like, it's graphically unappealing.
It's like looks like it's being made for like $20. It's very strange.
It's very strange. Skate, that EA live
reboot?
service skate game, apparently got like an official. It's going into early access. Get out of my fucking browser, Subway. It's going into early access in early 2025. or
Good for them.
I guess just 2025. But they put out a little teaser kind of showing off some stuff with all the people skating around and jumping over each other and stuff. So.
People wanted more skate for so long that I'm happy for them.
Yep. Yeah. I think the most interesting thing that they've done was when they brought Tim Robinson in on Opening Night Live to do that one thing. And I was like, oh, I love Tim Robinson. Oh, it's for skate.
Yeah. Maybe they'll get Jason Lee again.
Michael, Castlevania Nocturne Season 2.
Yeah, baby.
Got a release date.
Finally.
Yep.
I was worried they weren't going to do it because I hadn't heard anything in a long time.
Yeah, it's coming out in January.
Yeah, happy birthday to me.
Yeah. Which you liked the last one, right?
I did. I was a big fan of the last season they did. I wasn't in love with it only because they've made so many changes at this point that I'm just like, I just have to go with what's happening.
Yeah.
Like at this point, but I've just been a big fan of Richter that I'm like, okay, I'm just happy that he's getting something.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what they do because unlike the last one, the writing of it isn't just it's not just adapting Rondo of Blood. So it's just kind of doing its own thing with these characters. Yeah. So we'll see what they're doing with it.
Because apparently the Alucard came in at the end of the last season, and so he's going to factor into this season.
Which is why it's weird, because like I said, like it's not an because if it was an adaptation of Rondo of Blood, you would need Dracula in it still. But there's no indication that he's going to be in it still.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Check it out in January. This is some weird shit. I got some other weird shit. That Watch Dogs movie that started filming has wrapped.
The what?
The Watch Dogs movie that we started filming back in July.
I'm sorry, the what?
The Watch Dogs movie.
Okay, that's what I thought you said.
Yeah,
but I thought you were having you were imagining things.
Nope. That shit is started and ended principal photography.
What the fuck? Who's made what? Who's in this thing?
Let's see. It's directed by Matthew Turi. I have no idea who this is. Let's find out. Let's do a little Google foo here.
I don't care if we're going to go over time by this. I'm genuinely confused as to what's happening.
A lot of shit you've never fucking heard of. Let's see. The Deep Dark, Meander, and Hostel. 3 5 out of 10 movies on IMDb.
And it's not the Hostel you're thinking of course.
Oh, yeah. Hostile.
Hostile.
Not Hostel. And then it stars... Tom Blythe, Sophie Wilde, and Markella Kavanaugh, who apparently was in that Rings of Power movie.
I haven't heard of any of these people.
Yeah,
not a single one.
There's a ton of Australians.
I feel like I might know the name Tom Blythe. I'm looking that up now.
I can look it up. I got a big monitor right here. Tom Blythe. He was in Robin Hood, Billy the Kid.
I vaguely
Hunger Games. His last Hunger Games.
Remember that look, but I can't pinpoint it at all.
He's a real goofy looking motherfucker.
Yeah, that's why I can vaguely remember that. All I know is this is going to be terrible.
Yeah, it seems like at least it seems like they're doing it for like quick and cheap, as opposed to I'm going to spend like 5 years of my life making the Borderlands movie that's like the worst performing movie in history of all of mankind.
You know what it reminds me of, and I'm making this joke because it makes me wonder if it'll be on this. But I don't think it will because it doesn't exist anymore. It was when they made those Dead Rising movies for Crackle.
Right. I think that was a series actually.
Well, I think they made a series after they made the movies. I think. Because they had Rob Riggle as Frank West, but he was only in like one scene of the entire movie, if I remember correctly. And I was like, you have wasted both of these characters.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess we'll get to see. They're in post-production. We'll see how many cyber screens they have to put on to...
The best of luck to you, Matthew Turi.
Yeah.
Or however you say your name.
Matthew Turi.
I hope... I don't know. I don't know if I can hope or not. Good luck. That's all I have to say.
So here's the question, Michael. Can I top this news? Do you think I could top this news with another movie news story?
Maybe.
Movie, video game news story. EA has confirmed that the Sims movie is in development. However, the strangest thing about this, Michael, is that Margot Robbie and Kate Herron from Loki are like financing this thing.
What the actual fuck?
Apparently, once Margot Robbie got done with Barbie, she started looking around at other franchises and thought, oh, The Sims would make an interesting movie, and then like started throwing her star power and money behind it. what the hell? We already have a Sims movie, and it's called Seinfeld. Or like, to pick any sitcom, Big Bang Theory. Like,
Sims is just people living. There's nothing in like what?
You know what?
Okay.
You know what?
Everyone needs to speak Simlish.
No,
if they don't, then you've ruined this point.
So that was what I first thought. Was I got done watching that Robot Dreams movie? How there was no dialogue in it, and I'm like, dude, if you guys make a movie, if you motherfuckers have the balls to make a movie where everybody speaks Simlish and there are no subtitles, I am in. I'm all in for that.
Actually, yeah, I'm all in if the whole movie is like that.
And then two, what was that horrible movie about the kid and his dad has a sailboat? The guy has a boat and he's sleeping with somebody's wife, and then it turns out that it was all a game that a child made where he put his dead dad into a video game. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about?
What the fuck was that called?
I don't remember. But what if
it's gonna bother me all day?
What if this was like that, where it's like kind of like a Barbie thing, but it turns out that they're actually Sims, and so you're watching them kind of like in a Free Guy or Barbie way,
like
the things over their heads.
Well, it's like the Lego movie, basically.
But then they escape
like with their Sims
from the Sims and go out in the real world. It turns out that the Margot Robbie Sim was made by a little girl who made a Sim of her mom and has been trying to keep it playing for years and years, but like now her computer's failing or something. What if it was like that? It could be all right.
You can do some fun things with it, but I want them to speak Simlish.
I do want them to speak Simlish. I want them to speak Simlish in the game and then have a hard time when they get out of the game.
Yeah. You remember when they made those songs purely in Simlish?
I think
Katy Perry did a song purely in Simlish, if I remember correctly.
It makes simulation.
Look it up because I don't remember the name of it either.
Thriller, drama, bad.
Like how you put bad.
Serenity? Yes.
Yeah, Serenity.
With fucking Anne Hathaway and Matthew McConaughey.
I completely forgot. I blocked this movie out of my memory.
The shit that lives rent free in Jeff's head, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my goodness. What a fucking insane thing that people have done.
Yep. Okay, let's finish up with a few quick things. Oh, wait, you know what? I put this back here, but I thought I did it all for you. There's a Professor Layton game that... this is supposed to be somewhere else, so I have no transition.
Okay.
There were a series of Professor Layton games that were made for Japanese phones.
Oh.
Apparently, Japanese phones, like, before we started doing iPhones, Japan had like really good cell phones. So there would be like a much bigger gaming scene on Japanese cell phones. American cell phones just kind of sucked ass because we weren't trying to make these. And it turns out that there was a game called Professor Layton and the Mansion of the Deadly Mirror. And it was a Japanese phone-only game that was thought lost. They had 3 chapters, but it was 6 chapters long, and it had never been like translated or taken off the phone or emulated or any of that stuff because they couldn't find it.
Yeah.
And so this guy, Rockman Cosmo, on Twitter said that they found this phone in Japan that looks like it had been through a house fire, like it was all like fucked up, that has all 6 episodes on it.
That's amazing.
So they're going to dump them and they're going to translate them and they're going to put them out so that people could play this lost Professor Layton game. So
that's amazing. I love the serendipity of that. Like, because they a lot of people don't understand that how big gaming handheld is in Japan, not just like Game Boys and all that stuff, but on phones. I remember years ago it was some gaming magazine, and it was mentioning that in Japan, the skateboarding mini game from the PS1 for Final Fantasy VII.
Snowboarding?
Oh yeah, the snowboarding game.
Mm-hmm.
They released it on a phone in Japan because their phones were strong enough to do that.
Yeah.
And this was still flip phone era time frame.
Yep.
And I was like, is this ever going to come out here? They're like, no, none of our phones can fucking run this shit.
What was the reason why they had Final Fantasy IV had like the 2 expansions that were phone only in Japan.
It was crazy
for a long time.
Yeah, because people are always on the go out there.
Yep.
And a lot of them hang out in their public transport's so good that they just fuck around until they get to their stop.
Yep. So, yep. Let's see. Okay, now let's finish up real quick. One, this is a really interesting story. Apparently, okay, The headline for this is Italian police sees $52.8 million in fake video game consoles from trafficking ring.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
Okay.
You're just making up headlines now.
No. Let me explain this. So Italian police busted this ring of international distributors that were buying those Android, like Chinese Android emulator machines that were loaded with ROMs, where they just put all the ROMs on before they ship them to you. So, and that's against the law.
Yeah, and somehow it's a huge market still.
Yep.
Even now, I was talking to
off of Amazon.
I was talking to one of my roommates. He's like, "Yeah, I bought this thing with all these games." I'm like, "That's highly illegal.
Yeah.
How did you just get that?" It's like, "I just bought it, like you said, just bought it on Amazon."
So when they say $52.8 million in video games, they're like, that's like that stupid calculation of like the street value of every NES game, where it's like nobody's actually going to pay that for the games that were on there, like,
or for the the bulk amount of it. You're not going to you're not going to walk up to somebody who's rich with that many of those.
Yes,
I'm like, give me $52 million for these, because that's how much they're worth.
I'm a little disappointed in this though, as apparently they got them and they got all the, because Italy, apparently this was a big problem in Italy specifically, and they want to like clean up their act so they're not known as like the piracy capital of Europe.
That's fair.
But then they're also destroying all of them. It's like,
that's crazy.
12,000 units that they're just going to fucking destroy. And I'm like, surely we can come up with a better use for 12,000. I mean, like, this is like when bookstores like rip the books in half before throwing them away, where it's like, hey guys, it's already done. Like,
no, just wipe them or something and use the parts for them or something. Like, don't just destroy them all.
These are all
once.
like ARM processors and shit. Don't send them to some poor kids somewhere.
Dismantle them and recycle them. That's what you should be doing with these things.
Send them somewhere. Some kid, some 8-year-old can play Fester's Quest and be as fed up as I was when I played Fester's Quest. So.
I remember playing that on an actual Nintendo, and that thing is fucking impossible.
I beat it on the Nintendo.
Really?
Yep, but only because I had Nintendo Power. So
okay, I tried and I had no fucking idea what I was doing.
And then let's see. Somebody won first place in a Lego Builder tournament by redoing the entire village of Stardew Valley in Lego.
That
Subway,
is amazing.
You can tell me as many times that you will give me money off. I'm not coming to your fucking restaurant.
It's because Jared might be there.
It's because the Subway sandwiches are worth $4. And apparently the guy that built this, it's a very sweet story. He's a big Stardew Valley fan, and he said that, like, yeah, winning the competition, that was okay, but Barone or whatever, the guy that made Stardew Valley, like, showed up and congratulated him.
That's amazing.
And he was like, I was fucking freaking out, man.
If I was him and I'm like, if I didn't win this and that guy showed up, it still would have been the best day of his life.
Yeah. And it's pretty impressive because he did a lot of work to make all the little buildings look like they do in Stardew Valley.
I'm super happy for him. I'm like incredibly happy for him because that guy actually went out. Because I thought he was just going to tweet out this, like, yeah, this is pretty cool. But if he actually showed up, that is amazing.
Yep.
I'm super happy for him.
And last but not least, I don't know if you know, but last week, let's be very careful about this. I'm still trying to maintain spoiler policies. Last week, Elden Ring put out a patch, and one of the things that patch did was nerf the difficulty on the last boss of the DLC.
People were having a lot of trouble with it.
People were having a lot of trouble with it. People were asking for nerfs since day one. People always ask for nerfs since day one.
Oh, every time.
On Friday and Saturday nights, Michael, I drink 6 beers, and once I'm wasted, I log on to Elden Ring and put my summon sign down to help people fight the last boss, and I'm fucking good at it.
Yeah.
I've got a build that is specifically built to counter that guy's bullshit, and I'm like, I'm not let me solo him. You need to still do the work, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a tank, not a fucking DPS. But I am there to soak up the damage, and I will die before I let the summoner fail. But as with every Elden Ring character of all time, people are like, he's too hard. And so they nerfed some of his attacks. They made him a little slower. They made him hit a little less hard. They lightened up on some of the visual effects. Modders have now gone in to restore the last boss to their original difficulty, and not just that, but then there's also another one that like makes them even harder.
Good for you guys,
because
you crazy fucks.
Eat a bag of dicks,
you
apparently.
Crazy fucks.
If y'all want a good watch here, let me put in one more bonus thing because we're already over. There's a Souls YouTuber called YMFAH. Do you know this person?
No.
Probably not.
I would never know this person.
Yeah.
Unless they play Dragon Ball at any point. I have no idea.
They're called YMFAH. They do really weird like challenge runs in the games where like
you've told me about this guy before.
Like one of them was, oh god, it's an hour and 25 minutes and it's like Dark Souls 2. You're not allowed to use the stick to walk.
Yeah.
So it's literally using like the punch to move forward. And then like there's all these problems of like, and then there was a mandatory ladder. And since I can't use the stick, I can't climb the ladder. So how do I get around this ladder without, and like stuff like this.
Yeah.
It just recently put out one 2 weeks ago called All Hit Elden Ring that is it's about building for Elden Ring when you can't block, dodge, or use any health items or use the flasks. Like you can still use like regen items on the ground, but you can't use a flask, you can't block, and you can't dodge. And this motherfucker in an hour-long YouTube video beats every single boss in the entire game with a build that does damage the likes of which I've never fucking seen before and has so much goddamn regen on it that you can go hit for hit with like the final boss of the game without like ever putting up a shield or doing anything. It's just like,
that's amazing.
They hit you, you regen it right back out of them and like get them down.
That's so crazy.
The regen is so hard that
it's ultra ego. I just realized that
it can outstrip Melania's waterfall dance. The amount of health that she gets back, you could still get through it.
That's insane. That's so much insane.
So yeah, YMFAH is great. Michael, where can people find you when you're not over here helping me fucking do all this shit?
You can find me on oneofus.net. We do a lot of movie and television reviews. My last review was a while back, which was for Alien Romulus. But there's plenty of reviews out there that you can find on One of Us for Beetlejuice. They're constantly looking into some stuff. And Fantastic Fest is coming up soon.
Yeah.
So they're going to have
be all over that.
Probably going to have a lot of coverage for that too.
Yep. Patreon.com/RageSelect. Hey, I've been posting the actual videos to Patreon. So if you ever sign up for Patreon and you were like, I don't want a spreadsheet, Jeff, I want to just hit play on videos. I started at the bottom of the catalog. So like, it was like Grand Theft Auto 5, Grand Theft Auto Online, Batman Arkham Origins multiplayer, I think is the one that I put up today.
Oh my goodness.
And there's just me and Jason back in the old days. Fucking, we don't know what the fuck we're doing. Just fucking around. So, yeah, go check them out. It helps support the channel. And that's it. This is a long podcast. I'm going to talk about. Wait, I'm not going to talk about.